Hello, everyone. This is Andres Restart. I will be joined by Brandon soon. He was finishing up a very important nap, so he'll be with us in a moment. I just got back from the gym. I hope the lighting's okay. I hope I don't look too ridiculous, and I hope that everything looks and sounds okay. But once Brandon gets in here, we're definitely going to jump into discussion about the Nintendo Direct, our theories on it. There's been different things that have come up. A lot of leaks coming from Midori, both Direct related and Switch 2 related. A lot of code names. There's a code name that just dropped or like an hour or two ago, and it has me very excited. I'm not sure how much I want to talk about it now because I want to do some research, but we'll at least touch on it for sure, especially if one of you guys asked me in the chat about it. We're definitely going to be getting into that. Today, we got confirmation of the Zelda Lego that we've been talking about for like over a year, multiple times. It's happening. It is heavily Breath of the Wild related, but it's also heavily Ocarina of Time related. It's 50-50. And so we're going to taking a look at pictures, talking about it, maybe going into some discussion of what it could be suggesting for other things related to Zelda marketing, be it the movie, more Zelda Lego, maybe a remake down the road. So it's a good time to be a Zelda fan, a Nintendo fan. Lots of cool, fun theories and speculation I anticipate will be bouncing around today. So I'm anticipating a fun stream. So if you feel obliged or not, or I don't know, please like the stream. That would make things better. It would be helpful. I would appreciate it. Anyway, let me take a little bit of water. I'm still a little bit jazzed up from the bicep day. My biceps are tiny. I got a lot of work to do for that. But I think Brandon should be coming in soon. So Brandon will be here in a little bit. So how about in the meanwhile, let's say hello to all of you in the chat. How are all of you this fine evening? I'm gonna see what you guys have been up to as soon as I can see the chat. Velociraptor Ghost, hello there. Anthony Smith, hello there to you. Batata, that's me. Will there be an announcement of a remake of Legend of Zelda, remake of Legend of Legaia in the next Direct? Not Zelda, Legaia. Let's see. What is Legend of Legaia? Should I know what this is? It comes up on the Google pretty quick. This is interesting. It's a PlayStation game. I'm not familiar with it, but it looks cool. I don't know. I wish I could tell you more. I don't know much about this. The developers are Procyon, Contrail. I just don't know much about this, but it's an RPG. So, can an RPG be successful on Switch? For sure. But, and it came out on my birthday. Initial release date, October 29th, 1998. Obviously, they need to remake this one. I don't know. I wish I could tell you more, but I really have no clue. But we see so many RPGs come on Switch that are remastered, remade. I don't see why this one wouldn't, unless it didn't have enough of a initial following. But we'll see. Oh, look, Brandon's here. Hello there, buddy. You're here to help me from drowning? I'm drowning here.
What?
I'm drowning. I'm like my brain's not operating on a cool normal. I'm confused.
Yeah, you've hit yourself in your confusion.
Actually, all right, listen to this, guys. When I was driving to the gym, I know I shouldn't look at my phone while I'm driving. I understand that. I try to be a safe driver. I've never been in a car accident caused by myself, at least. There's been a couple times where someone's literally just hit me and I've been stationary, but that's a whole other thing. But my phone buzzed, right? And I saw a notification, and then when I was halted, I read it, right? And it was regarding this Monolith Soft code name, which to me, the moment I saw it, was like, oh, this is the new IP. It's coming out on Nintendo Switch 2 early on. That was my interpretation. This new IP we've been waiting years for, we're finally going to see it relatively soon. That was like my first thought, and I poked my eye in excitement. And I had to drive with one eye. Like
Dang.
it hurt. I normally don't like exclaim, like I don't shout in pain. And I
Right.
think I was maybe more frustrated because I poked my eye while driving, but it hurt and I could not see from my eye for like 15 minutes.
Dang.
But yeah, it was a bad poke. I'm fine. It doesn't look like red or anything. It's
Right.
pretty white to me. But anyways, that's how excited I was when I saw this. Um, and so it was crazy. But yeah, a lot going on right now. But it's good times. How are you doing, Brandon?
I'm pretty good. I am tired. I literally just got up from a nap that I meant to get up from like 20 minutes ago. But I guess I didn't set the timer, or maybe it went off and I was just so tired. I was just like, my brain just turned the alarm off and didn't wake up. I don't know what happened, but yeah, a little tired. But I have some cold brew iced coffee here beside me that is attempting to revive me. Yes.
Good. I'm glad that you're being revived. I'm glad that you at least got some rest in. It's always important. And you are here, and I am grateful
Mhm.
that you are here. But
Yeah,
I
it was
was
good to be
already
on.
in. I was already into the chat, Brandon. Right. So let's catch up with the chat, and then we'll jump to the discussion. Seem fair?
Seems awesome.
I think you already kind of. I mean, oh, by the way, yeah, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door came out a few days ago. We'll be
Yeah.
talking about that as well. It's just kind of like there's so much to talk about right now. It's like, oh, we don't. Yeah, but anyway, continuing with the chat, AB James asked me, Metro Prime 2 and 3 HD Dual Pack, $60. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games 2024, a new Mario Party
Ugh.
game. Those four games I feel are all a given this upcoming June Direct.
Haven't they stopped
Um,
doing the Mario and Sonic Olympic games?
so
Games.
I agree that Metro Prime 2 and 3 and Mario Party are solid predictions because those are my predictions for what we'll see in the
Oh.
Nintendo Direct. At least Metro Prime 2. And Mario. I'm sticking
Pretty
with the Mario
confident on the
Party
Mario
one as
Party,
well.
yeah.
Prime 3, I could see them waiting a few months if they want to do them separately. I'm not sure on how they're going to handle that, but I do think they're coming, right? Mario and Sonic, though, yeah, Brandon, you were asking if they've even done any recently.
Yeah, I thought they said they weren't going to do any more of those.
I don't know. When was the last one?
It's been a
2020?
long time, I think.
Mario and Sonic. I don't know.
I don't think they did one for the last Olympics.
The last one was 2020. They didn't do a Winter Olympics, did they? I mean, how often do they do them? Or did they do them?
I thought they always did them for winter and then summer. So
I'm
every
trying to
2
look at a
years.
list of Mario and Sonic games, but Wiki's not doing me any favors. Because I wanted like a list, and it didn't tell me like a list.
Right.
Mario and Sonic's here. Okay, hold on. The Super Mario Wiki is coming to the rescue. All right, so
Wow.
the initial one came out in 2007. It was based off the Beijing Summer 2008 Olympics. I think this gets a little confusing because wasn't there an Olympics that was delayed? Was it because of the
I
pandemic?
think, yeah.
Yeah. But 2 years later, it released 2009. This Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games. So they do Winter Olympic Mario and Sonics. So they had that for the 2010 Olympics. Then 2 more years later, for 2011, they released the Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games. Okay, so like typically every 2 years, at least early on, they come out with a game, right? And it's a year before the Olympics, right?
Right.
So 2 years later, 2013, they released Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games. So far, so good, right? And then the pattern starts to shift a little bit. So instead of coming out 2 years later, Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games came out 3 years later in 2016. Okay.
Right.
And then another 3 years later. So we're looking at 3-year gaps now, right? Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. It came out 2019, and that was it. There were a couple arcade spinoffs, and so it's been a while. The last release of 2019 is 2020. It's 2024. It's been 5 years. Like that's a long time, you know. When did Mario and Sonic Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 release? Like what part of the year? So it was a holiday release. Okay, so conceivably, right, if there is going to be one, it could still be announced in like the summer direct. That's not that much of a stretch. I'm trying to look at like just like the history of releases of Mario and Sonic. All right, so I think it depends, right? But like we've had some Mario and Sonics come out during the summer. Hasn't been anything like that announced. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I think this one's a toss-up. It's been 5 years. That's a long time. So I don't know. Have you pulled up any interviews where they said they're no longer doing them or something?
No, I just remember them saying something. I'm Googling now to see if I can find anything.
Summer Olympic Games are starting this summer. So there hasn't been anything on that, but it would make sense to announce something relating to that. So I don't know. That's a tough one. That might, if there's one that doesn't happen, that's kind of the one that I'm concerned about. But yeah, if you find something that speaks to your point, let me know. Continue with the chat though. Did you find something?
No, just apparently early 2023 there were rumors that a new game might be in development.
Okay.
Well, that was it.
Well, maybe they'll announce it in the direct. Maybe that is also a given. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. Continue with the chat though. Let's see. Hello there, Sam Talks Games. Hello there, It Approaches. Granddaddy Otaku. Hello to you all. Upper Nimbus. Grady's Goth. Hello, Sky Swords Alyssa. How are you? My holiday weekend was good. Thank you for asking.
There was a holiday?
Yeah, it was. That's kind of like, well, there was a holiday. It was yesterday. For me, it was just, you know.
Was that work?
Yeah, I just kind of had my typical day. What did I do on the weekend?
Went to work. I've been working so many days in a row.
I think I hung out. No, I hung out with friends. I think Friday night. Yeah, I hung out with friends Friday night. Hung out with my dad Saturday night, and Sunday I just got work done. Yeah, that's it. I played tennis a few times, so my knee's been hurting lately.
I've never played tennis in real life.
Well, yeah, it's all right. It's really fun. I love tennis. And tennis is it's a lot easier on the body than basketball. It's not a contact sport, so no one's hitting you, or at least
sounds like it'd be hard to follow the ball.
Yeah, when I play basketball, I'm definitely gonna get hit a lot. Yeah, I
never thought about that because I don't play like pickup games or anything. Or actually, like I'll just play I'll shoot some hoops or practice, but I've never played a game, so I don't think about basketball being that physical. I don't watch basketball. But thinking about it, that must be,
It's physical. It depends who you play with too, right? But like if you're playing defense, right, especially playing pickup ball, there's no refs, right? So I'm playing and someone wants to stop me, they're just gonna whack. They're gonna whack me. They're just gonna whack me, and and either I act like a softie, right, and I'm like, oh, foul, or I take it and they just continue to beat me down.
Right? Soccer, you don't ask for a foul.
But then when I'm like, all right, I will respond in kind. Whoa, bro. Whoa. Come on, man. My back. I'm like, all right, but then don't do that to me. But anyway.
Thanks.
Yeah. No, I love basketball, but it is tougher on the body. Not even just like getting hit, like just leg stuff and if you try and like spin and juke, and I do like a hop step sometimes, and it puts a lot of pressure on my legs, and I'm flat-footed. So my ankles don't normally get hurt, but it's happening.
I would imagine if you're just moving your feet around very quickly, you could hurt your ankle pretty easily.
I don't hurt my ankles, but other people might hurt my ankles. One time, I did sprain my ankle because I probably told the story before, but I had to use crutches for like a week because I was playing basketball, but it was like a pickup game, and I was playing with people I didn't know, and I was actually doing really well. I was in better shape at the time, especially basketball wise, and these kids, I was in the air, and these kids kind of sandwiched me, so they literally tackled me in the air together. That was a team tackle. and I was winning, right? But because they sandwiched me and their bodies were like tangling around mine in the air, the way I landed, my ankle was like that.
Oh,
So I needed to be carried off. Well, I tried to shoot one more time on one foot. It rimmed out, and then I had to be carried off.
dang.
So yeah, it sucked. But that's why I don't like playing with people I don't know. Because
Yeah.
it might even be people who don't even know how to play basketball. Like they might just like, I don't know. Like some people don't have as good body control or are not as like cognizant of what they can do to hurt people. Because when you're playing
Right.
basketball, people who play basketball and understand the dangers, right? Like if you're taking a shot, for example, right, you're supposed to give them space to land. If you don't
Yeah.
give them space to land, you're running the risk of ruining their life.
Right.
I'm not even joking. Like the same way how they tackled me when I was in the air, they ran the risk of ruining my life. I couldn't walk for a week, but it could have been a lot worse.
Right.
You need to give people space to land. So it kind of comes down to you got to be careful, who you play sports with in general, because yeah.
That makes
Anyways,
sense.
yeah, you don't tackle people when you play bad. You're not supposed to, especially from the side.
This is not football.
No, I actually don't even like playing tackle football. Call me a softie.
Oh,
Like,
super dangerous.
I
It's
just
incredibly
I
dangerous.
just don't think it's safe. Yeah,
No.
no.
It's proven not to be. I've seen so many injuries watching football. It's insane.
Yeah,
Going
I
through a game
remember.
and not getting an injury is so like it just doesn't happen anymore.
Like I didn't even play football in a team, right? Like I just, I've played football before, right? Obviously, but usually I campaign for touch or flag, because I remember like heck, like
I don't play tackle.
I was in middle school, right, and we were just playing PE football, right? So I don't. People will tackle when kids aren't when teachers aren't looking, but otherwise it wasn't. I don't think it was supposed to be tackle. But even with that, even with that in mind, like this kid, like we threw the ball, and then I don't know, there was some contact going on, and the next thing I know, his index finger is here, and then it's like 90 degrees elsewhere. He's like, "Hey guys, look at my finger!" Like he didn't even realize, like he knew it was messed up, but he couldn't feel the pain yet.
Yeah, my younger brother, he had that happen where like his arm was doing that. So like the middle of his forearm just completely snapped in half. So he was doing that with his finger, but like with his arm. Just like, hey teacher, I don't think my arm is supposed to do this.
Nope.
Shock is a crazy thing.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. A lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of things that are mental too. Like I remember one time I had sprained my arm. I thought I sprained my arm. It was probably like a really minor sprain. I think I was looking for an excuse to get out of school. This is back in middle school, playing football actually. And I think I was on the wrestling team at the time, but this is like it wasn't a wrestling related injury. It was a football during PE related injury. And so I went to like the emergency room or whatever, right? And so since I was still young, I was in middle school. Not all my bones were fully developed yet, right? And so my dad, he looked at the X-ray before the doctor looked at, like the X-rays were there, like we saw them physically, but we didn't have a doctor come and tell us his interpretation of it yet, right? And so my dad looked at it, and he's like, "Andy," because my family calls me Andy, "your arm is broken." And I'm like, "What?" I just start bawling, right? Because he shows me the X-ray. Look, this is your arm, and this is your elbow, and there's a space in between. And I'm like, I'm freaking out because I'm like, there's no way that there's a giant bone in my arm just split open, right? And so he didn't know because that's not something he studied, and I didn't know what was going on. But we just saw that gap in the X-ray. I wasn't gonna jump to any conclusions until he told me that he's my dad, right? And so eventually the doctor comes in and just explains that, yeah, when you're still in your developmental stages, the cap of the elbow hasn't fused to the arm yet. So there's actually supposed to be a gap there when you're younger.
Yeah.
So that was completely normal, and there was nothing structurally wrong with my arm. But because my dad told me that, and I saw visual evidence to support his claim, I freaked out. But I was totally fine. Yeah. So anyways, mind over matter.
Yes, sir.
Anyways, continuing on with the discussion, moving away from sports stuff for now.
Back to video games.
Alyssa says everything looks and sounds great. Thank you, Alyssa.
Nice.
Hello, they're having hope. Hello there, AB James. Snicksack says I'm looking great. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad I don't look like too much of a mess after the gym. I didn't have a time to really wash up or anything. But it's not like I was running either. So but I did sweat. Having hopes everything looks and sounds great. Thank you very much. Connor asked me for this direct for the GameCube and 3DS. So for GameCube, I hope we get remakes of Kirby Air Ride. I'd love that. Maybe Star Fox Assault. I'd still love that. For 3DS, Tamagotchi Life, Triple Deluxe, and Robobot. That's a lot of games, and they would all be fantastic. The only game I wouldn't be interested there would be Tamagotchi Life, but I think, oddly enough, that's probably would be the most popular game. Yeah, I actually predicted Tamagotchi Life in the direct, so
I saw that.
We'll see. That. Yeah, I guess maybe I want to throw in a bone for people who don't have my exact same taste, because Nintendo doesn't just appeal to me. They appeal to everyone. So, and a Tamagotchi Life remaster would do a good job of that.
Everybody likes the Miis, right? Most people.
Well, yeah, not everyone. Most a great many.
Everybody likes anything.
Yeah, that's probably true. That is probably true.
People don't even like water anymore, so it's like,
Bradley Taylor asking Nintendo Direct June 5th, 2024. Bruh, that would be wild.
June 5th, 2024?
June 5th, right? Like a week from now.
Fair.
It would be 1 week earlier than I'm predicting. But, it
would be possible. It's in the month.
So I guess the implication would be like Summer Games Fest starts next week, right? It starts June 8th. I think it takes place during the weekend.
Okay. I definitely think Nintendo's things will be either before or after it.
Right. So, I mean, they'll do theirs during the week. Right. So I'm looking at the Summer Games Fest events. It starts on June 7th. And I see events all the way up till June 9th. So it takes place over that weekend, right?
Honestly, it doesn't affect Nintendo's plans at all. Because it's on the weekend.
So conceivably, it could happen on the 5th. The only thing about that is that Nintendo does historically like to do their shows last, right? So I think we just got word that Sony's doing their show at the end of May. So like, I don't know, tomorrow or something. Yeah, I think it's like really close.
Announced it officially yet?
I think they did. I'm not a PlayStation guy, right? Like, yeah, PS5, but I'm not a day and date.
Anything of this.
Sony showcase. Let me do a quick Google search. Next PlayStation event could be a state of play, not a showcase. Okay.
It's just rumors still.
Rumors. Maybe it hasn't been confirmed yet.
It's just rumors that it could happen on the 28th or the 29th.
Hasn't been announced yet.
And it's not today. So, guess tomorrow? Yeah.
Yeah. According to Nate the Hate, Sony still likes May, and he said this a couple weeks ago. So I guess the point is that there's a thinking that a Sony event is happening this week. It's only Tuesday, so I mean, they could, if they do it Nintendo Direct style, they could announce it tomorrow and it happens Thursday or something. So we'll see. Yeah. I don't follow Sony stuff, right? Like there's a reason I don't make Sony videos. Like I don't follow this stuff religiously. So I'm not sure, but it seems like the belief is that Sony's going to do something in May. And going back to the point though, the thinking is Sony will have whatever their summer showcase is. It's going to be happening, presumably in a few days. We'll see if this is confirmed or not, right? And then Xbox, we know, is having a showcase at the end of Summer Games Fest. And so that's on the 9th.
Right.
I'm predicting the 12th. But it could happen on the 19th. A lot of people like to predict later for Nintendo, especially now that they're not beholden to E3. The 5th, though, could work. It's just that Nintendo typically likes to have their shows after everyone else. So we'll see what happens there. But, I mean, theoretically, it could happen on the 5th. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think it'll probably be the 12th or the 19th.
Yeah.
And I don't think it will be too long after the other presentations. So, I do agree with the 12th.
Yeah, I do want to ask you on that because that is my prediction. The 12th, right? Like, I think the 19th is viable, but like, how do you feel? Because they announced the direct like at the beginning of this month or something, like a few weeks ago. Yeah, it
Right.
was May 7th that they announced it, right? So like 3 weeks ago they announced a direct. Do you think that comes with an implication that the direct should happen sooner than later, or not really?
I don't think so, just because the only reason they really announced the direct, I can't tell like if they announced the direct because they were talking about Switch 2 or if they talked about Switch 2 because they announced the direct. But either way, those two announcements were intricately tied together. So I don't think it was necessarily had anything to do with when the presentation was coming out. I just think that the 12th makes more sense because I do
What?
agree that they usually like to do it after, but not. I don't think that they want to wait too long. I think they'll want to take deadlines back pretty quick.
Yeah, last year they had their. What did they even do last year? They had an actual summer direct. They had it on the 21st, which was late. It was late June. And if I'm not mistaken, Summer Games Fest was
Probably
still
about the same time as it
probably about the same time, but I'm just double checking. Let me see. Yeah, it was the same time. So, yeah, like 8th and 9th. This pretty the same difference really.
So maybe the
So I
19th.
don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's really one or the other. It's 12th or 19th. That's pretty much what I think. If it's on the 5th, hooray! But we'll see. Anyways, moving on. Let's see here. Man, there's just a lot to talk about, Brandon. So I'm gonna try and be a little bit more concise, I guess.
Thanks.
Probably not. When was the last time I was concise? I think it would make sense that they would release Prime 2 and 3 before they release Prime 4. I agree. Do you agree, Brandon?
I mean, it makes sense, but I don't think they have to.
It's kind of like, I mean, maybe you could look at it. I think there's reason to compare Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD to Metro Prime 2 and 3. There's a similarity there, I would argue, right? And there was a thinking that Nintendo should release Wind Waker and Twilight Princess before Tears of the Kingdom. Remember in 2022 when they delayed Tears of the Kingdom and everyone was like, "Oh, this is the perfect opportunity to take these games that have supposedly been just been sitting on a shelf for years to give us the typical Zelda release we have every year." And what did they do? Nothing. They didn't do it. No, they didn't do it. And so, people thought, "Oh yeah, for sure." Now, there is a difference, though, between Wind Waker and Twilight Princess and Tears of the Kingdom. There's no real need to play Twilight Princess or or Wind Waker before Tears of the Kingdom, right? Breath of the Wild, yes, but that came out years ago on Switch, right? It's fine. Metro Prime 2 and 3 are part of a trilogy leading up to Prime 4. It's perhaps a better comparison is Pikmin 1 and 2, which what did they do? They put out Pikmin 1 and 2 and 3 before Pikmin 4 came out. So I do think that from that perspective, I would argue Prime 2 and 3 are a safer bet than Wind Waker and Twilight Princess to even happen. I would argue. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You were arguing otherwise that's not a guarantee. That, I mean, nothing's guaranteed, first off, but like, why do you think that maybe they might not have them before Prime 4?
I mean, it also depends like when Prime 4 is going to come out. Like, we both think Prime 4 is probably going to release next year, like the same time on Switch 2 and Switch 1, but it could release this year, which gives them a lot less time to release 2 and 3, which obviously you can fit that in, right, if you want to make it work. But it would be a very short release window for them before
it does kind of depend, right? Like, I think some people like it's interesting, like my brain
can actually have time to play 2 and 3 before then.
Yeah, like my confirmation bias is pushing me towards me thinking, oh, because Prime 2 and 3 haven't been announced yet, that sort of confirms in my head that Prime 4 is not a this year thing. But if they handle like Pikmin 1 and 2, they could just come out a few weeks before Prime 4. I think there's a big difference between there is a difference to there's a distinguishment that needs to be made though. Prime 2 and 3 are longer games than Pikmin 1 and 2.
Right.
I don't think like we're talking about
I
like
think you probably
40 hours of
yeah.
gameplay versus
I was thinking like 40
I
to
don't know
50 hours.
versus 10 to 15 if you combine Pikmin 1 and 2. Like, and obviously each game's replayable in different ways, right? But if we're just talking about like beginning to end campaigns, you're probably going to be close if you haven't played the games before. It's probably going to take you about 40 hours to beat Prime 2 and 3, maybe 35 if you're efficient, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, on
I think
that
Prime
note,
1 took me like 15, 16 hours to beat the first time, maybe less than that.
yeah, I mean, you can beat them quicker if you know what you're doing.
Well,
I
just mean
always
that's from
found
my first playthrough, but I didn't get everything.
I always found that 20 hours is kind of like a reasonable expectation to beat those games. Your first time through, if you're not efficient, which I don't think you should be.
Yeah.
I mean, also a lot of people can't even finish Prime 1, 2, or 3 on their first. Well, three is the easiest to finish because the game just tells you where to go all the time. But 2 and 3 get harder because of the artifacts and keys. So that's typically what slows things down. And I think with Prime 3, I don't even remember there being like that restriction. That's probably why Prime 3 is shorter by a few hours, because it's not as hard to kind of do whatever sort of. I think there is some sort of fetch quest at the end. I don't like to call it that because it's more fun than other games fetch quests. It's been a while. Hopefully they release Prime 3 on Switch, so I'll play it and remember. But there's something they cut that they don't do in 3 that helps it to be quicker.
I've heard 3 is more action focused than 1 and 2.
It's streamlined.
Gotcha.
Streamlined, yeah. It's more guided, and yeah, there's definitely a focus, a narrative focus. It feels very like, oh, this is like a big, sci-fi, action drama.
I enjoy it a lot, cool. Actually. I probably will end up liking 3 more than 2, but maybe not more than 1. Every time I see 2, I'm just like, I don't know if I want to play
honestly,
this game.
Brandon, considering your tastes, I wouldn't even be surprised if you told me you like Prime 3 more than 1.
Okay.
Because Prime 3 is more linear. It has more of a narrative focus. It is highly action oriented. It has a lot of really cool, epic moments. A lot of scripted things. I think you just like the experience. Like Prime 3 is definitely like, hey, this is a roller coaster and you're gonna love it. So
hell yeah, that sounds fun.
I am certain you'll like it more than 2. Yeah. Based off your taste.
2 just seems like it's a little too complicated and tedious in some aspects. But I haven't actually played it. I've just seen you play it, and watching you get lost in the game, I was like, oh no.
It's tough.
Oh god. He's played this game before. Oh no.
Yeah. It's not easy. But yeah, 3 is way easier to complete. But anyways, moving on. Brony Pony Productions adds me and asks, do you think the Nintendo Direct happening on June 4th is possible, Andres? They usually do Directs on a Tuesday, and June 4th is a Tuesday, and the reason I think the 4th could happen. So, first off, anything is possible, right? But I would put it under the category of fairly unlikely. And the reason why is because you're right in saying the Directs tend to happen on Tuesdays for E3 time. But E3 does not exist anymore. So whenever Nintendo has had like an E3 Direct, they have happened on Tuesdays. But since that's been phased out, we've been getting Directs on Wednesdays, like we usually do in the early parts of the year and the later parts of the year, but also now in the summer times. If you check the last couple years, it's been on a Wednesday. So at least last year for sure it was on a Wednesday, following the typical pattern of Wednesday. So that's why I don't think it would happen on the 4th. The 5th, I think is more likely. But based on what we were talking about earlier, how Nintendo tends to like to have their show after everyone else, the 12th makes more sense. And some people think the 19th makes more sense because they've been doing it a little bit later lately.
I think I'm going to go with the 19th as my official guess.
I think the 19th should make more sense for you because you said that you don't think there's really any significance to them announcing it so far in advance.
Yeah.
So
And then you said
yeah,
that it was in the 21st last year, and I remembered. Yeah, it wasn't.
yeah,
Which makes the third week the
yeah.
most likely for me.
I'm honestly concerned that my prediction is going to be wrong because I think the 19th is a highly viable option, which I do note in my predictions video. But I also put my prediction in the title, so I know I'm going to get blowback when I'm wrong. But we'll see what happens. Maybe I
It's
won't
fine.
be. Yeah,
You're not
what's
a
your prediction?
you're not an oracle,
Nope, I'm a person. I am but a person.
but a lowly human being.
Yeah. 6 I play tennis too. There we go. Good sport taste. Yak Attack says Zelda Lego is too expensive.
All Legos are too expensive. What do you mean?
True.
It's not that much more than other non-Nintendo set. Although I would have expected more like 200 maybe instead of 300, maybe 250. It's still maybe a little more than I would expect, but it's not like unreasonable. Like I have I haven't actually built it. I need to build this. I keep forgetting I have it. But I have the NES with the CRT set, and that's $300.
I have
And
a
probably around the
Luigi's
same amount of
Mansion
pages.
Lego set, which is pretty cool.
Keep in mind, this is
Yeah.
2-in-1. You get 4 figurines. You can get the Ocarina of Time and the Breath of the Wild deck. You could build it either way. So it is, you get a lot with the set.
For
But
sure.
it is expensive. But all Legos are expensive, so I don't really think there's too much of a Nintendo tax here. I think it's mostly a Lego tax, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely a Lego thing. I want to focus more on this as like its own thing. So what I'm gonna do is kind of quickly catch up on the chats, and then I think we'll dive into Lego stuff first.
Cool.
Because there's a lot to extrapolate there, and we've also been kind of touching on direct stuff already, so it's not like we haven't already
Right.
grazed the topic somewhat. Sky Sword Alyssa, shout outs to you. Thank you for being a member all this
you.
time, 6 straight months. Awesome. Granddaddy Otaku with the first super chat of the night. Thank you for the super chat. Otaku says, speaking of Zelda and Legos, fun idea I had today. Lego style Zelda game for Switch 2. P.S. Keep being awesome, gentlemen. Thank you. We will do our best.
Nintendo Lego games would be really cool. I would like that.
I think that's a treasure trove.
Yeah.
I would hate it, but like,
you don't like the Lego games?
I have never bought a single Lego game.
What, brother? Missing out on a lifetime of great experiences.
I think. Listen, as long as it's like clearly like a third-party effort, right? Yeah, I just don't want it in place of like a core Nintendo game, right? Like I don't want like to be on a Zelda drought, and they're like, "Hey, here's Zelda Lego." I'll be like, I quit. Bro, it would be like Federation Force, the sequel.
No, I don't think it would be in place of like a mainline game.
Can you imagine though? Like imagine for like we go on a Zelda drought for 3 years, and the first thing announces Zelda Lego, the game. It would actually probably be pretty cool. Like if they follow like I think
it'd be awesome.
Like the linear Zelda formula, right? Actually, that probably people will be like kind of eat that up a little bit.
Full open world Lego games now.
I'm sure they
could do whatever they wanted.
I know, but I'm just there's already like a lot of, Breath of the Wild and Tears are kind of that already. So the thing is, I wonder if Nintendo will even approve of it. Like just kind of thinking about it from that perspective. I think they would have to do something different with them. That's kind of my thought process on there. I also think Mario Lego would happen first.
Probably.
Yeah. But we also had, I remember there was a Skylanders thing, and they approved of Nintendo characters in there like Bowser and Donkey Kong.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so I almost wonder if like there could be another Zelda Lego, not a Zelda Lego, but just like a Lego game, and there's more like a crossover event where it's not made to be specifically one Nintendo game, but maybe they have some DLC or like kind of like what we saw in Starlink, for example, or Skylanders, where there are inclusion, or Mario. Well, Mario Rabbids already had Mario, but they had a Donkey Kong expansion,
right.
So like things like that, where they kind of put in a few Nintendo levels and a few Nintendo characters into an already existing game. That to me seems more conceivable because we have more of a history of that. At the same time, though, if there's a cool Lego style Zelda game, I'll probably, stop being a, I don't know,
Negative
whatever
Nancy.
a negative Nancy, and I'll be like, all right, fine, I'll give this a whirl, and I'll probably love it. So, I'm aware that Lego games are high quality.
Did you try like Lego City Undercover? It's a very fun game.
Yeah, I probably should have when the Wii U was like the only good game. So
It's on all platforms now.
I know, but back in the day, that was the opportunity.
Mm.
Yeah, I could still do
Yeah.
it now, but I have quite a lot of games to get to. Coming back to the chat, Ashley Rowe asks me, I want the new Star Fox game. Don't we all?
Right?
I would love to see that.
I want Star Fox to have a budget.
Yeah, I
Star
actually
Fox Zero
think
is not it.
we've talked about, there was a video I made a few months ago, but there's a few reasons to think that a Star Fox game is in development. There's some trademarks and things like that. There have been some
Miyamoto
movie
believes
accounts.
in Star Fox.
I believe in Star Fox. I think we're gonna get a Star Fox game on Switch 2, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see it within the first 2 years of Switch 2. So we'll see.
Be hype.
I'm not being an oracle, I promise. Gear 1000 year J2 asked me, son, your body is broken. This is probably in reference to when I was talking about that story when I was a kid. Yeah,
Probably.
that's basically what he told me. Bradley Taylor adds me, Mario Kart 9 announced it next month at the Nintendo Direct, then it launches on Switch 2 for March 2025. Boy, would I love that. But let's remind ourselves that Nintendo's already confirmed that the next Direct will be about Switch 1, not Switch 2. And also, I'd be shocked if Mario Kart 9 is coming to Switch 1. I think it would be a Switch 2 exclusive.
I don't really see much point in making another cross-gen Mario Kart this time.
Yeah, I do think we may see Mario Kart 9 this year, though. I think there's going to be an event at some... Yeah, like I think when they give us like some kind of trailer or presentation for Switch 2, there will be a few games they show off for the system. And I think Mario Kart 9 or 10, whatever it's going to be called, the next generation Mario Kart will be shown off. And we'll actually see footage of it.
I think it depends on how big their initial presentation is. Because depending on how many games they show, they may just show like 3D Mario instead. And just show one Mario game.
You could be right. But I don't think you are. So, yeah.
We'll have to see what type of presentation they do this year.
I just think it from the perspective of, you look at, like, how often do they just show one or two games for a console? With Switch 1, they showed off several.
I think they'll show off a bunch of games. I just don't know if they'll show multiple Mario games in the first presentation.
I think 3D Mario Kart are... We know. I think that's fine. I think they're going to have two very different visual identities. They showed 3D Mario and Mario Kart in the Switch 1 teaser. I really, and also especially with no Breath of the Wild,
they did show Mario Kart off. Oh yeah. Oh, never mind. Yeah, I forgot they did that.
No, that doesn't mean
they probably will.
That doesn't mean they'll do the exact same thing. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I for some reason I thought they waited to talk about Mario Kart till the second presentation, but I forgot they did show it off in the next. It was there, but people probably thought it looked basically the same because it does look basically the same. But there were some clues about. I think we were already speculating there's gonna be like double items or something in there.
Right?
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, it was handheld off-screen footage, so you couldn't tell. The only graphical change is the resolution, which is the same.
It's super subtle. You can't tell in handheld mode because it's literally the same.
It's the same, yeah.
Right. It's only in docked mode where it's better technically.
Right.
Yeah. Moving on. AB James is asking you, Brandon, is Brandon picking up Nintendo World Championships NES Edition in July?
Probably not. I don't really care about it. It's not my thing.
Brony Point in Productions, do you think that if we get a new Mario Party, it'll be a GCN nostalgia game with 2 boards from 5, 6, and 7? 6 boards and orbs are back and take the DK off the roster and bring back DK Space? I wouldn't mind another Superstars game, but I'm kind of leaning more towards a new Mario Party just because from what we understand, right, assuming everything Midori is telling us is true, which I kind of am because he's like the best leaker ever. like they for the record, like they just talked about a Bleach project, just confirmed.
Right.
So there's a long list of everything they talk about eventually coming true, unless it's canceled, and that's why I take these things with a grain of salt. But I don't think Mario Party is getting canceled.
Sounds unlikely.
So Super Mario Party was called Buffet, and this supposed project is Banquet. Now we actually don't know if it's Mario Party. All we know is there's a Nintendo project that's codenamed Banquet, and it's being made by ND Cube.
What's
now,
the code name for Superstars?
I don't know. That's a fantastic question, actually.
I think that's a very, very key question. Because if it's very different, then that could be a good indicator that this is another new game and not a kind of remix.
See, when I Google code,
it's not even really a remake. So just
I get
remix.
I get a friend code thread.
Interesting. Very unhelpful.
Yeah.
Maybe if you friend all of them, one of them knows.
Yeah.
But you can't message people on Switch, so it's useless.
Trying to see if I can find. I'm trying to find if there's a code name out there. I mean, I'm sure there is.
Right.
These things are usually not advertised as much, though.
No, they're not really advertised at all. People just find them.
Yeah. I can't. I'm trying to find something on it. Yeah, I can't find anything on it. It may be there, but I just can't find it. Hold on. Nope. Yeah, if someone knows the code name for Mario Party Superstars, let me know, because that would make a big difference. But I mean, Banquet clearly is in line with Buffet, right? So I'm leaning more towards it's going to be a kind of like something like Super Mario Party. Now, really, all I think that means a new Mario Party game.
Yeah.
But I did like Superstars. I like Superstars more than Super Mario Party.
I think pretty much everybody did. That was like the general consensus. The Superstars is way better of a game.
Now they may take some feedback from that if they recognize that. The other problem though is I think because Super Mario Party was the first Mario Party game on Switch, the sales wise, it's a much better seller. But I wonder if how
Superstars had a lot of hype though, and it gets played a lot on like Twitch and by streamers. So I'm curious if that's helped the sales.
I guess my question is how cognizant is Nintendo of what people really want of Mario Party? You know, they did
change a lot of things. They went back to more of the classic style. They do the patch stuff. Very receptive of. I think they'll stick with a lot more of the classic formula because, like in Superstar, that's the first one, right? The name is so confusing. But the first one on Switch, they had like unique blocks for each person, and then stars were only 10 coins, and like there's a lot of things that just made it very like simplified and basic, which they backtracked on with Superstars. I think they'll probably not go back and try anything like that. Like they might try some cool new stuff to switch it up, but I don't think they're going to make it more simple like they did before. I think they'll just add a few more new mechanics that are fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully not broken.
I don't
think
had,
like partners were completely broken too.
I think they'll be less inclined to do like the crazy gimmicks. Like with Super Mario Party, they want to like showcase the abilities of the Joy-Cons, and they have the switches connecting to each other. I think it's gonna be more focused on, hey, let's just give us fun games to play. So
the maps were super simple and basic on Superstar 2 or Star, the first one.
Yeah.
I hope there is more content though than there has been, because we've been getting like 4 or 5 maps per game. I hope there's more like 8.
I mean,
maybe some more mini games.
Obviously,
there's going to be online.
Oh, there will be more, but I don't know. I feel like we should probably expect par for the course. I don't expect a significant. I don't expect that. I think this is kind of one of those things where it's going to be par for the course, right? So whatever that means. I did just think
I think
about
the older games had more maps, though. I think it's just they're more recent games that have like no maps,
Superstars had 5,
which is
right?
not very. Yes, and then the Superstar or whatever. The first one had 4.
I also think it's worth noting that most Nintendo's not really announcing DLC anymore. They're kind of like wrapped up on that. So I don't expect like this next Mario Party to have a DLC expansion unless they're tying it into Switch 2 launch, which is possible. But I don't know. It's a tough call.
It seems most games have 6 to even 8 maps. Yeah, before 10.
You're gonna get
have
4,
either
and you're gonna
6 to
like
8.
it.
So I would like a return to the 6 to 8 maps.
How about 6?
I mean that is it. That is part of 6 to 8.
Yeah, but like the low end, you know.
I'd be happy with 6 to 8.
All right, we'll see what happens. Assuming this is all legit, right?
Facts.
Yeah,
I
like I think the point I want to make is that even if Midori is 100% right, that doesn't mean it's Mario Party. We're connecting the dots.
It
right?
would be very strange for it to be not Mario Party though. With
It
all
would
the
be.
information we have.
With ND Cube making it, like I would have predicted Mario Party without any. I did predict Mario Party earlier in the year actually. So
Right.
Before any of this stuff came out, I was just like, hey, it's been 3 years. It's about time.
Right.
So yeah. And I think, and there's a history of Mario Party coming out at the end of a generation. It's like an ideal game to put out because it's not like a game you're going to want to play. And you'd be like, man, I really wish this was saved for Switch 2 with better graphics. No,
Right.
You don't care about that. It's Mario Party. So
Mario Party's had decent graphics, especially the first one.
yeah, I think they're
had
good.
some pretty, especially the mini games. The mini games in those games look very good.
They're small environments. Like there's really no reason for
The
them
lighting
to not
is
look
like
bad.
baked and it looks nice.
Yeah,
They have
I
decent
agree.
textures.
I love the water. It's always
Yeah.
pretty.
They had a lot of nice effects and materials in the first one too, like in the mini game where you're frying up the cube of meat. That looked really nice.
Yeah. Hello there, Paul Gale. Shout outs to you, buddy. Shout outs to you. Paul Gale is amazing. You guys should all send him some love. Yeah.
Yes.
I think yeah, I'll read this last chat here, and then I'll come back to the chat later as we cover some topics. Velociraptor Ghost adds to me and says, Prime 3 always felt like a Star Wars game to me for many reasons, like the Federation Force Troopers were a lot like Stormtroopers, and the GFS Olympics was like a Star Destroyer. They definitely went for like the space opera feel.
Sorry, what game is like Star Wars?
Prime 3.
Oh, okay.
Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. It definitely has a lot of those space opera vibes. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there.
It's the one that starts in the spaceship with like off planet with all the people.
Say it again.
Prime 3, is that the one that starts like on like a spaceship?
Yes.
Yeah.
You start on the GFS Olympus or something like that, and yeah, there's a battle that ensues, and then there's a second. There's like Prime 3 has two prologues. It has two prologues. Like there's a space station, and then you have a battle on the planet, and you fight Ridley falling down a giant hole, and it's pretty epic. And you work with the different hunters, and then after that, you kind of enter the typical gameplay loop. Except you can go to different planets in Prime 3, which is pretty cool. But each planet kind of had less to do compared to the one planet you get in Primes 1 and 2, because that was the entire game.
Right.
Anyway, let's talk about Zelda Lego, because there's some. This is a big deal. Okay,
It's hype.
It is very hype.
It's so much cooler than most of the Mario sets.
It is so cool. So let me screen share. I didn't show these images in my video today. I showed other stuff on Twitter, but let me show you this stuff on the official website. It's cool. I'm assuming you can see this.
Yes.
Can you see me zoomed in? I clicked on it and it kind of okay. Can I click on individual? Yes, I can. All right.
Yes,
sick.
we can see that. It seems to be a generic screen capture. So
yeah, so sometimes if I
everything
change tabs, it's confused, but I'm on the same tab, so it's not.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I
This
mean,
looks
like,
so nice. Actually, I haven't
yeah,
seen a nice high resolution image yet. So I was just looking at things on my phone. It was like
yeah.
barely loading on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I think this looks amazing. Like this is the Breath of the Wild set, right?
Right.
And you just notice the attention to detail. Like one, they're using like the pink leaves, which I love for the Deku tree. It's got a long mustache. But there's also Koroks everywhere. There's Korok here. There's Korok
Right.
there. There's Korok there. Okay, maybe it's not everywhere, but that's 3 Koroks that I can count. Well, 4 if you count Mister Hestu over here. Is it? I always get confused. Hestu.
I think it's Hetsu.
I think
I don't
Hetsu sounds more natural to me, but I think it's
Hetsu sounds correct to me.
but Hestu is the correct way to say it.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
So that's the thing. Hetsu feels more natural to me, but it's Hestu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
I've probably been misreading it this whole time.
Yeah. Anyway, like you can see Link here. He's got the Master Sword, the Hylian Shield, the Champion's Tunic. I've seen some people wonder, like, oh, does he have a ponytail? We don't know. We haven't seen the back of his head, but you also
Looks
have
like
Princess
he does
Zelda. If I'm looking, if I can I
It looks like I
enhance?
can see the side of his hair.
Oh, he doesn't zoom in anymore.
I
You
think
can
he has
see
it down like
he has
Tears of the Kingdom.
he has a sideburn, so I'm assuming he has the ponytail. I think I could even see here, like Zelda's long hair. Like I think there's attention to detail there, so I'm assuming that there's a ponytail. It would be weird to not have the lock, like the little blue like band he has in the back. So I think there is going to be the ponytail there, especially because if they're going to give Zelda long hair, like well, I mean they should. Anyway, we'll see,
Right.
but it's not confirmed. She does have the Sheikah slate here, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the next image. This is the box, the one side of the box. If you notice here, you can see something Ocarina of Time related. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
2,500 pieces, so this is a big deal. 18 plus. Honestly,
I want to check the amount of pieces that's in my set real quick. I'll be right back.
Good luck. I'll point out that he's got the maracas. That's worth noting here. And what's the next image?
This 2646, 2,646 pieces. So roughly the same. So yeah, $300 set, same pieces, makes sense.
Yeah, what's crazy though is there's 2 different things you build here. This is the other Deku tree from Ocarina of Time, right?
It's just like it's a 2-in-1, which typically means you can't build both at the same time because
probably
you're
have to
using pieces. Like
yeah.
You probably have to build one or the other, but it would be cool if you could build both. But that's not typically how 2-in-1s work.
You buy it twice.
You buy it twice. Yeah, $600 is the real price if you're a real fan.
Yeah. I'm seeing here the Zippo has posted about F-Zero. Now, the disclaimer: I don't believe Zippo is legit anymore, or really have I ever? I'm not
you could
sure.
have just stopped with I don't believe Zippo.
But we'll check it out for fun because there have been a few times Zippo's gotten things right, and so there is an argument to be made, right? And that's why sometimes we will entertain the idea. But I'm highly skeptical, but it's still fun. So we'll check it out when we're doing the Zelda Lego stuff. Anyway, so this is the Ocarina of Time one, right? It looks awesome. You can see how the eyes are like, there's something there. It's cool. We got Deku Babas. We have the Deku Tree Sprout. This is Link. This looks like the adult Link. And he's holding.
Move.
If you notice here, he's holding the Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
Now, another little detail I'll point out here. Actually,
it's sad. There's a sad detail I can point out right away.
You gotta go for it.
I mean, he's clearly deceased in this, obviously, which would make sense considering adult Link is here. I mean, his eyebrows are all turned down.
Like this one's not as like grim looking.
I think that one's alive, but I mean, it would make sense for him to be deceased at this point.
I don't know if he's dead. I mean, I don't think he's actually dead because he has the green leaves. Right, I think this is when he's alive, but there is a slightly grimmer look to it. I agree.
His eyebrows are all like really low, but he's kind of more like that.
He's in his final moments.
Yeah.
He's
not looking good.
I will point something out. There's a few things to note here. There's water. So I think this is
Yeah.
probably just, a detail. Well, actually, what's weird is that there's not water in this one. So they've changed the environment a little bit. There's water here. There's also mushrooms and flowers, and
Mm.
this stuff isn't in the original
Right.
Ocarina of Time. And so it gets me wondering, is there like a new iteration of Ocarina of Time behind the scenes that Nintendo's working on?
Oh.
And that's why, we're seeing some differences here.
It's
Because
interesting, really
because there
interesting.
is attention to detail, right? It's not like there's a lack of an attention to detail. There is an attention to detail. But when you look at some of the details, they don't match up environmentally.
Right.
Like this is like imagine, so just think about it from this perspective. If there were to be a remake, right? They wouldn't make it like a plain field. They would pretty it up.
Right.
There would be flowers and mushrooms. Maybe there'd be a pond or two. They would make it look a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, they could be just going for more of like an amalgamation of just like Kokiri Forest, because we do also see the Deku Babas here. Maybe this part's more so supposed to hit like with the platforms in the water. It's more so supposed to hint at like Kokiri Village.
I think
Because
there actually are Deku Babas in that area.
if I'm looking carefully here, there's a Sheikah stone behind the Deku Baba. You see that?
Yeah, I believe that, or if you wrap around the roots of the Deku tree, there are like enemies there, I believe.
In the back?
Yeah,
I don't really run around there too. You know what? I think there is, and I have to go back.
I think they're in generally those locations, actually, to be fair. If I remember right. But it's been so long, and it's like such a small detail. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Well, you might, according to Velociraptor Ghost, there are, so you might be right.
Okay.
I don't remember that part, but you maybe. So yeah, it's interesting.
That stone is definitely over there. Yeah.
I mean, we get another look at it here. More flowers up close. This is Dung Link.
If I hit it with a bomb, will it rocket up?
It's an interesting question. You'll notice here that the door opens, the mouth, right? I think there'll be some images showing closer up there, but this is cool stuff. We got the Kokiri shield. This is all Ocarina of Time love. Like,
right.
Some people are saying that they just picked this because it's the most iconic version of Ocarina of Time outside of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and I mean of Zelda. And yes, that is true. But also to that end, if Nintendo's going to remake a Zelda game, by that same logic, which one do you pick?
Right.
So this is all just
the only other games with the Deku Tree that I can think off the top of my head would be like Wind Waker. What other ones are there that actually have the Deku Tree? Are there any?
Can't think of. Tears of the
Kingdom? Really just 4 games?
I'm trying to think. I feel like is it not in any of the 2D games? I
don't think so, but maybe.
Like, I don't remember there being a Deku Tree and a Link to the Past. It's definitely not in Link's Awakening. I haven't played Oracle of Ages and Seasons yet, so
me either. It's not Mage Cap.
Yeah, I don't remember that him being there.
Or Link Between Worlds.
I don't think the character was even created for the first Zelda game.
No.
I mean, I think the whole wasn't the whole Deku thing created in Ocarina of Time. Like, I don't.
Deku's in general.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
There's an easy way to find this out. If we just Google Deku Tree, right? We can. I'm sure there's got to be.
I think that the Deku Tree was created for Ocarina of Time, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no other game that has Deku Tree that you would remake other than Ocarina of Time.
There's references to them in spin-offs, but it's just the 4 games.
So you're not gonna remake Wind Waker again unless you have some path trace version or something.
I honestly I think what they didn't have to put a 2-in-1. They wanted to put a 2-in-1. They could have just focused on Breath of the Wild and just made it bigger, or not even.
Could have had a Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom because they're slightly different.
They could have done that, but they chose Ocarina of Time instead. Like, they didn't even have to have a double set, is my point. Like, they could have just put more things for just Breath of the Wild Deku Tree. They chose not to. They chose to include Ocarina of Time.
They chose the best timeline, the best outcome.
Yeah. We see
the greatest timeline.
Like, Link is cooking here, which is cool. There's water in this scene, which is interesting.
Yes.
Here we got to look at the back of the Ocarina of Time deco tree. There's a chest.
Cool.
There is the Skulltula there. We got a little torch thing. Apparently, I think there's a lever here that allows you to raise it up and down, just like how it worked in Ocarina of Time. They would come up and down. At the top here, I think this is the Breath of the Wild tree. You can see the pink fairies like from Breath of the Wild. That looks like an apple, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, it's a Korok there. I think this is supposed to mimic one of the there's like these plants that have like lights on them.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So it's cool stuff. This is Link's house from Ocarina of Time. Like, this is a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing. Like, you could make the argument. I think you can make the argument there's more Ocarina of Time love in this set than Breath of the Wild because there's a whole separate structure. But I think you could also say that there's a lot more characters for Breath of the Wild with Hestu and the Koroks. So, I would say it's about par. But it is interesting that we have Link's house, or at least a piece of it, and there's Navi there, which is nice to see. And there's a sign. I can't read Hylian, so let me know what that reads. We probably could decipher this actually. We could, but I'm not going to. And that's the box from the other side. This is the Ocarina of Time version, and this is just awesome. This looks so cool. So I think this is amazing, and I want it a lot.
Yes, sir.
I want it a lot. But Brandon, do you think this Lego set, we knew it was coming, first off, right? This is not like a surprise. Or was it a surprise to you?
I was surprised. I didn't know about this.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, it wasn't a surprise to me. I knew it was happening for a while. For several reasons. There was source, there was leak, there was rumor. This has been a thing for a while. But anyways, in your opinion, does this impact your thinking at all on the theorized Ocarina of Time remake?
I mean, it's interesting that the set is coming out this year, but also this Switch 2 was supposed to come out this year, so it's possible that Ocarina of Time remake would have been on Switch 2 would have been much closer to this set's release, even if they probably still wouldn't have coincided. Exactly.
Yeah, like Mario Legos don't coincide with Mario game releases.
No.
But there is like a buildup of promotional material. There is kind of like a raising an awareness of brand.
Right.
Like we know this is not going to be the first Zelda Lego set, by the way. This is just the beginning. And we know this is Zelda movie already in the works. Like, to me, I just kind of feel like this is very much like similar to how we had the Mario Lego sets and then we got the Mario movie. I think it's just kind of like that. So, we're on that trajectory of Zelda, cross promotional merchandising. And we know that they're working on something Zelda at the park as well. So when I say we know, I mean, we know. Because we saw a leaked picture of Onuma and Miyamoto at the park, right? It hasn't been confirmed yet, but also it's kind of like a duh moment. Like, of course they're gonna add Zelda to the park at some point,
if they add another, obviously they're going to expand it again, almost certainly. So what other franchise other than Zelda would they go into next?
Pokemon.
Oh God.
Animal Crossing.
Would be so disappointing.
Splatoon. I think from a historic perspective, Zelda makes more sense than all of those. And I think that's why they went with Donkey Kong as the first expansion, because one is expanding upon the Mario universe, but also Donkey Kong historically is very important to Nintendo. So from that perspective, it makes a lot of sense. And with that in mind, Zelda is kind of like the next big thing. And when you factor that on top of its popularity, it makes clearly a great deal of sense. So there's that. It'll be interesting to see how Nintendo incorporates other smaller franchises like Metroid, Star Fox, Kirby. Maybe they don't get a whole park, but they'll get like a ride or something, mixed in, a shop or something. So that could be neat. Like Pikmin,
maybe the final expansion is just like a bunch of different IP in like
Smash
one
Bros.
portion of the card.
universe.
Yeah, something like that.
That would be cool, but also upsetting.
I mean, if they
I'd
did the Smash
rather,
Bros. Universe, at least it would be a way for the most amount of IPs to get representation.
yeah. Um. Anyways, so my thought, Brandon, like on the whole like Ocarina of Time remake thing. I mean, this doesn't change my opinion too much because I already believed this was coming, right?
Right.
But I do think it's really not. But there was a question of how much of an emphasis there would be on Ocarina of Time, and I suspected that there would be a huge emphasis, but now we know. Literally, it's half.
Mhm.
It's literally half, right? So that's a pretty good amount of focus, right? And so to that end, I would say it sort of just reaffirms my theory that Ocarina of Time is important. And at some point they will remake another Zelda game, and I think Ocarina of Time is literally like the best option. So I believe in the theory. Now, some people are kind of going so far as to suggest maybe we see Ocarina of Time this year on Switch 1. And that I'll say probably not, because a big part of the reasoning behind an Ocarina of Time remake would be to have a big Zelda release that excites the Zelda fan base and also showcases new hardware early on for the new console. So having a remake like this on Switch 1 wouldn't do that. Now, on the flip side, though, it would do a great job of helping Nintendo hit their targets for this year. Like, how are they going to hit that 13.5 million Switches if there's an Ocarina of Time remake OLED edition? That's gonna sell, right? Like that's gonna sell some units.
True.
It's gonna sell some significant software. Like I would think it would be a 10+ million seller for sure.
I do think it would be a waste though, because
Right,
I
because
do
it
think
still
it
would
would.
sell well on Switch 2. It would still put up
Yeah,
those numbers.
because you have to imagine that an Ocarina of Time remake would be the biggest Zelda thing to come out for many years.
Until we get the new Zelda, until we get the
Yeah,
new
pretty
opening
much.
Zelda. Yeah,
Pretty much.
exactly.
Maybe a 2D Zelda some people might consider just because it's a new game on par. But other than that, there's not really anything like those. Like it's like one of the biggest Zelda projects you could really think of. So to release that in the last year of the Switch when you could just wait and release it later it's insane to me.
You see this? What I put up
I
there,
do
Red
see this.
Malin. I actually thought of this as
I
well.
like that profile picture, by the way.
It's super cool. So basically, Midori has put out that Monolith Soft is working on a project for Switch 2 that's codenamed Legacy. I want to do a little bit more thought on this, right? I think this is my first thought. This is a non-Xenoblade game. Could be the new IP we've been waiting years for. They still have that hiring page up, right? They still have that cool concept art that looks very Zelda-like. It is possible that Legacy, considering the name, right? Like the name Legacy. Also, if you look at like some of the quotes and interviews for the Zelda Lego set, they refer to Legacy with Ocarina of Time. So there could be an overall thinking that Legacy, like maybe Monolith Soft is remaking Ocarina of Time because why would the Zelda team work on that if the point is to be a stopgap until that next thing, right? So if there's a team that would kind of have the stuff to do it, like clearly, it would be Monolith Soft, because guess what? Monolith Soft has already been working on Zelda for like 15 years. They worked on Tears of the Kingdom. They worked on Breath of the Wild. They worked on Skyward Sword. So they're acquainted with Zelda. They've done Zelda
closely with the Zelda team.
Exactly. They've offered support development. So it would be interesting. But also, I don't know if they would have Molotov just do a remake though, because I think another studio could do it. So I'm not saying it isn't. I think it's definitely
a pretty ambitious remake that might have some slight story changes or something. They might want something like Monolith Soft to do it because they work so closely. They can just work together.
Yeah,
and with oversight from the Zelda team, but very little actual work from them.
I think it would be a great choice for the remake. Like, I think they would do a great job of it. But I also think you know, this could just be the code name for their new IP.
Yeah.
Which
Honestly, though, thinking more about it, if Monolith Soft has the teams available to do it, I think they are the team that makes the most sense, just because they're already working directly with the Zelda team all the time. They can literally,
Yeah.
if they need to ask the Zelda team something for a remake, they can just, they're already there. They're
Right.
already working together.
They already work closely with each other.
They
Another
have a
interesting
lot of
thing
time
about
back and
this is
forth.
that it would be because Monolith Soft it's crazy, right? Like Monolith Soft develops the Xenoblade games, which only sell like, somewhere between the 1.5 to 3 million copies. But like the games that they do support development for are Splatoon, Animal Crossing, and Zelda, all franchises that sell 10 plus million or more.
Some
right?
of Nintendo's biggest franchises, period.
Right. So they offer significant support development for Nintendo's biggest franchises. And so it would be interesting for them to be the main developer for a game that's probably going to sell 10 plus million, which I 100% believe that this remake would do that. So it's interesting. I think Legacy could be this remake, but I also think it could just be a new IP. And there's still a possibility that this could be another Xenoblade game. So I want to dive further into this stuff, but that's probably going to be, hint, hint, my next video. We'll see. Yeah, but it's definitely a really good consideration, Rinmalian, for sure. Now I did whatchamacallit? I did I said I would look at the Zippo rumor regarding F-Zero. I just want to hear about his thoughts regarding F-Zero, and we'll see. All right, so should I screen share?
Sure.
Or should I just read it? I don't know. I'll screen share.
Might as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so this is Zippo, guys. F-Zero GX Recharge is boosting onto Nintendo Switch. Oh God, please be right. Please be right. Be it a prediction, a leak, or what have you. Please be right. I'll say that Zippo's gotten things right before, and I think sometimes it's just because it's a really good prediction. But this is what they say. Right. Captain Falcon and company finally returned in a new game in last year's F-Zero 99, and now it's time for the next lap. As was reported previously by numerous sources, the GameCube installment of the F-Zero series is coming to the Switch, fully remastered with the title F-Zero GX Recharged. Here are a few things I've heard about it. Game looks absolutely stunning. Will run a very smooth 1080 60 FPS. Has a fully featured online mode as well as the usual 4-player shenanigans. Will feature the addition of a casual mode, perfect for newcomers who are brand new to F-Zero, because the game's impossible to beat otherwise.
Fair enough.
It's literally true. Literal. Anyway, it's true. Anyway, game has been finished for well over a year, as is Nintendo tradition. They just sit on things until they feel like releasing them. That's like, even if like he's making all of this up, it's all of this makes complete
none of this
sense.
is even new information technically. I mean, some of it.
I mean, F-Zero.
There's very, very little actual.
This name, if he's right, that would be new. If the game's been finished for over a year, that would be new.
I mean, it wouldn't be that new. It'd just be in line with what we would expect.
It would be predictable.
There was going to be something last year.
Additionally, I've heard that this and the 99 are essentially taste tests, so Nintendo can gauge consumers' interest in a new installment in the future. Want a new F-Zero? Buy this. I mean, that's also one of those things where, it just makes sense. You're going to be super transparent about this. Super transparent? Okay. I have no idea what's in the Summer Direct as of the time of this writing, but I have a very strong feeling that both of Takaya Imamura's sons, Captain Falcon and Fox Cloud, are both about to be eating real good soon. My intuition is very strong, and I've got a really good feeling that this Direct is going to go bang for more reasons than one. More soon.
A Star Fox game too? That just doesn't make any sense to me.
So listen, I actually agree that both Star Fox and F-Zero are going to have installments relatively soon.
I guess if they're both remakes, I could see.
Well, no, I think Star Fox is going to be a new thing. but I'm not.
I don't think it's gonna be on Switch 1. I could see a new thing for
but
Switch 2.
I'm not saying it's going to be on Switch 1. All I'm saying is I think there's going to be a new Star Fox installment. I would say now conceivably we could get a remaster of Star Fox on Switch.
I'm just thinking about what could be announced in this direct.
I'm not expecting Star Fox or F-Zero in this direct.
Oh, you're not expecting either of them?
There's a reason they weren't in my predictions. Now, do I have any real reason to think this? No. I think I'm just trying to not be disappointed. That's pretty much it. I think an F-Zero GX could show up in the direct. It's basically my thinking is. So let me take you through my thought process for what the predictions I did have for the direct, right?
Okay.
So my thought process was, we know about all of Nintendo's releases up until July, and I operated under the assumption that Switch 2 is coming out in March, as many are suggesting, right? And so yes, there will still be games coming out after March, but they're going to slow. Switch support is going to start to slow down soon, right? There will still be games coming even after Switch 2, but it's not going to be every month anymore, right? It's going to be more sporadic, increasingly more sporadic as time progresses.
Yeah,
and so this next line, the next half year or so, I think is going to be at least they're going to have like a one game per month average, right, as they typically do. And so I just kind of thought about what are they going to announce between now and when Switch 2 comes out. And I do think Metro Prime 2 and 3 kind of need to happen before Prime 4. And so those are kind of in line, right? I do think there's going to be something Zelda this year. I don't know what it's going to be it the Wind Waker Twilight Princess or a spin-off or what have you, but something Zelda. I think the Mario Party thing is going to be a thing, right? And so when you account for those projects, you're already running out of space. I think we are close to a time where maybe we get a Mario Sports title. Maybe it's Mario Sluggers. Maybe it's Mario and Sonic at the Olympics. And I do think Nintendo needs to put out releases that are going to help get them to that 13.5 million systems sold, because that is their goal, right? That is what they told us they're trying to do by the end of the fiscal year. So I think Nintendo needs to put out some bangers, right? And I think it's going to come down that basically my big three predictions were something Zelda, Mario Party. I think those two would be strong for software sales that would help to push that. And the other one I threw out there was a Tamagotchi Life remaster.
Right.
An F-Zero GX remaster as would be so much better than Tamagotchi Life. Like I don't care at all about Tamagotchi Life. I have zero interest in this, right? But I recognize the sales potential of it.
Yeah.
F-Zero GX remaster, on the other hand, we'll be lucky if it sells 1.5 million copies. We'll be lucky. And I hope it sells more. But I'm just being realistic.
Facts.
Xenoblade sometimes struggles to get to even 2 million. I think Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition isn't at 2 million, right? So why would F-Zero all of a sudden do better? Now maybe F-Zero has more potential than Xenoblade. But it's been so dormant for so long, it's hard to kind of gauge.
Yeah. It's hard to
on the flip side, though, I will say this. And maybe I should have included F-Zero. I don't know. But if Mario Kart's coming out next year, perhaps now is the best time for Nintendo to revisit one of their forgotten or lesser used racing franchises, because Mario Kart is going to take the spotlight relatively soon.
I do think that if this remaster exists, I do think it's going to probably come out this year or early next year. So I honestly do think it will be announced in this direct. And if it doesn't, it kind of makes me think it might not actually exist. Because I don't think it's going to be one of the games that comes out like cross-gen or anything.
It's interesting you bring that up. Because we did get some discoveries regarding Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door, which we haven't talked about yet. So with 1,000 Year Door, now we don't know what this means, right? But it's curious, right? There was a data mine, and they found that there is something about 4K output in the data mine for Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door. And we also this point doesn't really seem to. I don't think it moves the dial too much, right? But it was rated like a year and a half ago in Japan or something. I mean, in Germany, so it's been done for a while. So it's not too relevant. I just brought it up. But something that is maybe somewhat relevant is that it does support the colored button thing. And if you look at all Switch games, they don't do that. This is a very unusual thing to have the colored buttons. So there is some speculation that maybe games like Thousand Year Door are going to be future-proofed. Now, how might this be related to an F-Zero GX remaster? Maybe Thousand Year Door is the first of many remasters and remakes that are going to be future-proofed. They're going to be positioned in a way where, yes, they'll be made for Switch 1. They will be games that they're gonna put out remasters and remakes for a few years, and they're gonna, and most, if not all, are gonna come out on Switch 1, right? Except for something like Ocarina of Time. But they will have Switch 2 in mind, so they'll be able to run at a higher resolution, maybe a few other smaller bells and whistles, and perhaps even the Switch 2 button format in mind as well. Perhaps like Thousand Year Door. That's kind of the speculation. And interestingly, we did have a rumor come out from Brazil, the person who put the initial port of the Switch 2 delay. They're wrong about the April Direct, though, so I've been a little bit more cautious with them recently. But many people still think they have good sources. It's just plans change, right? But they've apparently have heard that after this fiscal year, in other words, probably not going to be in this Direct, there's a 3DS remaster in the works and a GameCube remaster in the works. Remaster / remake, because when it comes to reporting on these things, it's always hard to say what it is until we actually see it. But anyways, what came from that information from Brazil is not just that these two games there's two more games coming after this fiscal year for Switch 1, but also that, yeah, the idea is kind of to try to sort of treat Switch 1 like 3DS was in the last 2 years, which was when Switch came out, 3DS got a lot of remakes and remasters. Even leading up to the Switch release, there was a lot more remakes and remasters. So there could be a lot of that. But considering the backwards compatibility we're kind of anticipating for Switch 2, and also like the DLSS and all that stuff, it may be the case that while there will be remakes and remasters coming out for Switch 1, you can still play them on your Switch 2, and they may be designed in a way where people will still want to buy them when they have a Switch 2 and enjoy slightly better versions of them on Switch 2. Right. So coming back to F-Zero, right? It could be the case that we see F-Zero come out now and they have this in mind, or it does still come out maybe next year, maybe in the early part of the year. Let's say Mario Kart's a holiday title for 2025, so it's divided by half a year, and they have it as a Switch 1 title, but also it comes out in the Switch 2 launch window, and they can enjoy that for a better version there. Like, I don't think that's a huge stretch. And there's actually some history of like smaller kind of IP coming out in the launch window to have that opportunity to see some success. Like we saw Excite Truck to launch the Wii, for example, another like lesser known Nintendo racing franchise.
Okay. I still think we could see it in this Direct, if that happens. But yeah, it's an interesting thing about Paper Mario, because they have essentially in the code you can select like 4K, 1080p, or 720p. Yeah, the game doesn't actually run at 1080p or 720p. It runs at 900p docked and like 600p undocked. Yeah. So the interesting thing about that is you're just selecting essentially what the final output resolution is. So we don't actually know what happens. I don't think anybody's tested. Maybe somebody has very recently, but what actually happens if you turn that mode on. So we don't actually know what resolution the game runs at when it's in that mode. It might just be 900p. It depends on how they have it configured. Because if you select the 1080p mode, obviously it does not run at 1080p. So we don't actually know what the internal resolution is of that mode. Just a little interesting clarification, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I recognize we don't know, right? It's just speculation. It's hard to say with certainty what it's for. Shout outs to Boo Mini for gifting a membership. Wily Tiger, welcome. Nice to the Andres Restart team of members. You can now use emojis.
The other thing about F-Zero though is it's been, if it is real, then it's been rumored for a long, long time. And I don't trust Sippo, but anybody, if it is real, it likely has been done for like a year, right? Because we heard it
Yeah.
was going to come out last year.
A lot of games seem to have been done for a while.
Yeah. So I would expect if it is real, that it would be announced sooner than later. So maybe there's something like a Star Fox remake. Is that GameCube game? Maybe we still do get.
Maybe that's the
GX
the next kind of wave of Switch 1 remasters post in a post Switch 2 era.
Right.
I think it's a tough call, right? It's interesting to think about what GameCube projects there could be because there's a few options, right? So we'll see. I think it's worth noting that you look at some of the projects we've gotten this year, and so they're kind of like smaller franchises, like Another Code Recollection, Endless Ocean Luminous. And to me, that's exciting because I think that poses the possibility of things like F-Zero or Star Fox or Kid Icarus. Like, for the record, I would say F-Zero, Star Fox, Kid Icarus are a much bigger deal than Another Code and Endless Ocean. But if we can get remasters of those, why can't we get remasters of even popular, long anticipated comebacks for other Nintendo franchises, right? So I don't think it's a stretch to think that any of these could see a remaster, but it's just kind of, which ones does Nintendo pick, because there's a whole bunch. So, we'll see, but there's definitely more coming. So yeah. On the 3DS one, what do you think it might be? My first thought is Kid Icarus.
That'd be a good one. It'd be a really good one.
Yeah. There's another one I have in mind, though.
Obviously, we've already talked about Tamagotchi Life being an option.
Ah, shit. That's right. Yeah.
I would just personally. I know there's a new Fantasy Life game. I forget if it came out yet. If it has come out, I need to get it. I don't think it has come out yet. But I would like to see Fantasy Life, the 3DS one, like a nice remaster of that game, personally. There's a lot of very popular 3DS games I haven't gotten to play, though. I only had the 3DS for like a year before the Switch came out, and then I traded it in.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of. 3DS has an amazing library, so bring it. The other remaster I was gonna mention, possible remaster I was gonna mention, was A Link Between Worlds.
That'd be dope. Yeah. But I want to see a new Zelda, 2D Zelda finally.
I really feel like they should do a new 2D Zelda instead, but.
We got a new 2D Mario, and it's been about the same gap.
Yeah, if it comes out next year,
which are both insanely long gaps.
Yeah, A Link Between Worlds originally came out, I want to say
2012, 2011, 2013.
I
long time ago.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna double check because
clearly I don't remember.
You're saying all these dates, and I thought I had a different date in mind, and rather than being wrong, I'm just gonna check 2013. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been already over a decade.
Third time's the charm. That was right.
There you go. So like something like this though would make a lot of sense. Because 2D Zelda will do well. It comes out for Switch 1, right? But
11 years.
It's a 2D Zelda makes a lot of sense as a late Switch 1 title. We've talked about this before. I would assume.
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming it happens this year. Well, I'm not assuming that. Let me rephrase. I've kind of thought there's a time we're going to see 2D Zelda in the relatively soon future. It would be this year, and if not, we're going to wait a couple more years because next year is going to be Switch 2, and I feel like the next Zelda thing will be something a little bit more towards like steering the Zelda audience onto Switch 2, so something more like a Breath of the Wild remaster or an Ocarina of Time remake, or So it just feels like there's a lot of other Zelda things that would happen before the next 2D Zelda. But what were you gonna say?
I'm going out on a limb. I'm gonna say it. The Switch, it will have its own 2D Zelda. There may be a patch when Switch 2 comes out for it to play at higher resolutions, but it will come out originally only on Switch because I think the Switch deserves its own 2D Zelda game.
So, I feel like it should come out this year. I think it. Yeah. Well, so what's interesting about that
maybe
is that,
early next year, but I think this year makes much more sense.
So basically, my thinking is that there needs to be a game that makes sense to have some sort of special edition Switch also come out to bolster Switch sales. We need a game that's going to bolster hardware sales. I think a 2D Zelda game with either like a special, let's say there's another Switch revision this year, right? Like either that or an OLED or both. I think that's a great way to bolster hardware sales. Actually, the more I think about it, I think price drops is one.
Price drops huge.
Maybe having a smaller, cheaper revision of the Switch Lite, maybe it sports an OLED, and also a new OLED edition, maybe based off this hypothetical new 2D Zelda game. Which, by the way, going back to the rumor from Papagenos, he's heard that there's supposed to be some sort of Zelda release where Princess Zelda is taking a starring role. And it's kind of, from what's been sort of suggested, it seems like he thinks it's coming out relatively soon. He says now's the time, right? And he's alluded to it being maybe in his direct predictions. So it hasn't been extremely concrete yet, so I don't want to put words in his mouth, right? I'm paraphrasing here, but the general interpretation of what he suggested is that many people seem to be thinking it would be a Zelda release for this year if he's right. And so maybe there's a 2D Zelda where Princess Zelda has a starring role. I don't know if that means she's the only main character or if it's a combo thing, like in kind of similar to Spirit Tracks, but something like that. I think it could be a big release. It would have us excited. They could it, and it could definitely help both software and hardware sales, help Nintendo reach their target. At which point, though, then we kind of wondering, well, when the hell are we getting Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD?
Gonna get them when you're ready for them, which is
get them never. So I don't know.
I kind of suspect that they are
they're just, it's one of those things
doing something with those more extensive than just a Wii U port.
Maybe Nintendo wants to do like a full on, like, hey, new generation of Zelda, everything's 60 FPS, which, by the way, Skyward Sword's already 60 FPS. Link's Awakening remakes already 60 FPS.
Switch.
I think even A Link Between Worlds, which released in 2013 on 3DS, is 60 FPS.
Yes.
It's just the open world Zelda games.
A lot of the 2D games are 60 FPS.
Yeah, it's easier to accomplish. But Skyward Sword HD, a 3D Zelda game, is 60 FPS. That's the first time they've ever done that. So, of course, if they could put Skyward Sword at 60 FPS, they can easily do the same for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I would assume, right? Those are older games than Skyward Sword, so I would be surprised if they couldn't.
I would be too.
Yeah. So I mean, also, it's not like Skyward Sword is like, none of us think that's like some sort of incredible like feat on the Switch. No, it's considered to be a pretty simple, safe remaster, even with 60 FPS in mind.
Should be mainly the same kind of constraints.
Yeah,
because I believe the biggest issue would just be that a lot of games from that era were made with like the physics and the timings and like the way the game worked was defined by like the frame rate. Changing the frame rate introduced a lot of bugs, but if they can fix that for Skyward Sword, which most likely was built with the same kind of way, then obviously they can do that for.
Haven't you made the argument before that the 60 FPS on Skyward Sword was probably better because of the motion controls?
I think that's the main reason why they did it, but I don't see why they couldn't do it for Wind Waker or Twilight Princess.
Yeah. Something I'm thinking about, and I realize this. I recognize that from an outsider's point of view, this may feel like a little bit of like a goalpost moving thing, and maybe it is to an extent. But kind of thinking about like how Nintendo's going to handle their strategy post Switch 2 launch, like in terms of supporting Switch 1, maybe they're thinking, hey, we put out a 2D Zelda this year, really, punch in like a lot of strong sales, right? Like that's a really strong, like final big Switch 1 holiday focused release. And then in the next couple years, they have to think about a lot of remakes and remasters that people are going to want on Switch 1, right? Of which, of course, you can still play on Switch 2, right? It's not like you would be excluded from that. But maybe they're thinking, hey, what are the kind of games that people are going to buy a lot still on Switch 1 that would make sense? Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are going to make sense in terms of sales next year for Switch 1 and the year after. So maybe Nintendo just thought, hey, we don't need to release these now. We can release them later when we need games for Switch 1 and we're kind of running dry.
That's a good point.
I I recognize that, I kind of made multiple arguments this year. They're like, hey, this is the last year where Switch One's the focus. If there's a time to do it, it's now, right? But maybe it's not, So we'll see. But regardless, I feel pretty good saying we're getting something Zelda this year. Whatever it is, something Zelda I think is coming. And no, I don't. I think when I say something Zelda, I don't mean Cadence of Hyrule an indie release. I mean like
that was a good game though.
Yeah, but it's not enough to satisfy the Zelda fan base. It's got to be like an actual Zelda, full-on Zelda spin-off. It's the new Zelda entry or a remaster. Something.
It's a good game though. You should play it.
I played the demo, I remember, or something. I didn't get
the full game.
Rhythm thing.
Oh, it's so good.
I probably should give it another try.
Once you actually like learn how the game works and like get into it, which doesn't take that long. It's just a few minutes. It's super good.
Yeah.
Feels like a kind of like a 2D Zelda, like a new 2D Zelda game with rhythm controls, which is honestly doesn't play too differently. It's just there's a lot more thinking about what your movement is.
Sure. I would say, I mean, we could keep going, but is there anything we haven't talked about that we should? Right? Well, we haven't talked too much about Paper Mario Thousand Year Door.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that.
Yeah. So let's check in with the chat real quick. I'm gonna put a little poll to ask people how they're feeling about Thousand Year Door, and then we'll start that discussion, and then we'll talk about what we do after that.
Okay.
So let me put up this poll now. Have you picked up Paper Mario 1000 Year Door? Of course. Can't spell. Actually, I spelled correctly, but I can't use my shift button. Never.
You should have another option that's like, no, but I will soon or something.
Soon.
Just
maybe someday.
Planning on it.
I got 4 options. I got, of course, never, soon,
options.
Maybe someday. I feel like I covered all my bases.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. Give me one quick moment. I gotta be right back. Like 10 seconds.
All right, guys. It's the Brandon podcast again. How are we doing? Nature Boy's playing Paper Mario while watching the stream. Hell yeah. You're really enjoying it. It's really fun to play. Nice. Having Hope 5, I'm going to be using my fiance's copy once I finish other games, and once he finishes playing it, then you'll play. Gotcha. Makes sense. Maybe James hasn't picked up 1000 Year Door, but we watched some gameplay, and the game looks really fun, has charm. That's awesome. I really wish the comments would stop scrolling while I'm trying to read them.
Were you talking smack?
No, actually. I was talking to the chat.
Oh.
Just reading the chat. People seem to be enjoying Paper Mario. And my brother's in the chat.
Oh, nice.
Mando.
Hello there. So, yeah, Brandon, you and I have both been playing 1000 Year Door, and it's, in my opinion, clearly the best game this year that Nintendo's released. It's not close.
Considering I haven't wanted to pick up any of the games because they disappointed me, I would agree with that.
I mean, it's not that Another Code Recollection is bad, but it's
that one. I just haven't seen too much on it. I might actually end up picking that one up.
Yeah, but Mario vs. Donkey, like I mean, actually, I haven't played.
The demo was all right.
I played Mario vs. Donkey a little bit. The demo, I was like, all right, I'm like, cool. I don't need to buy this. I feel the same way about Princess Peach Showtime. Endless Ocean just had
I don't think it's gonna be amazing.
For Endless Ocean, I was actually really interested in it, but the reviews were very disappointing.
Yeah, it just wasn't enough of a game for me.
Yeah, pretty much.
If they gamified it more, I think I would have really enjoyed it, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I've been a little bit more choosy lately because of just
Yeah,
trying to save money and stuff. So I was
time,
like, well,
money,
yeah, time has also been
adult things.
a precious resource.
Yes.
But yeah, Thousand Year Door. I just beat Hooktail last night.
Okay.
I started the Peach segment, but I was falling asleep, so that's kind of I haven't gone extremely far yet. I'm sorry, I'm an adult. Uh,
I'm not too much farther
that's
than you
not
are.
me
I beat
throwing shade
chapter
at
2.
people who have had time to play. I just saying that I haven't. I hope you have had time to play, and if you have, I'm happy for you. I just haven't had the chance yet, but I will
Yes.
soon have more time to dive further into it.
I have beaten chapter
yeah.
2.
So I guess I'm pretty much done with chapter 1, right?
Yes.
I don't know if I don't I'm in the middle of the Peach interlude, if you want to call it that. So I
Right.
don't know if that counts as chapter 2 or chapter one and
It
a half.
technically counts as chapter 1. You don't start chapter 2 till you go into the pipe that takes you to the next location.
Excuse me.
And then it will pull up a little, the banner will come down, or the curtains will come down and be like, oh, chapter 2.
Okay.
Technically, everything before then is chapter 1, but chapter 1 pretty much ends after you beat Hooktail.
Okay. So I'm close, but I'm not quite done with chapter 1.
Technically, you're not done, but you're pretty much done.
But if this is my first time playing Thousand Year Door, I shouldn't say it first time because back in the GameCube era, like I had played it, but I didn't own it, so I didn't really play it. Right, this is my first time really playing it and getting to know it and stuff. There was some interesting things that I was like, oh, I remember this, like the joke with what's his name, Coops, right? His name is Coops, I think. Right, when you find the bones, and he's like, "Oh, it's my dad."
My dad.
And then when you read the letter, it's like, "Oh, and to my son, Colorado." He's like,
Right.
"Colorado? I'm not Colorado."
Somebody mentions Colorado in the town. It's like a cool Koopa they know.
That's very interesting. Yeah. So, but anyways, like, I'm getting to see this, right? I'm seeing it compared to other Paper Mario games, and something that I think is neat, right? Just thinking about like how the Paper Mario series has changed, right? Because it's no longer traditional RPG, and they went away from those mechanics. But I have played Paper Mario for N64, and so I'm very familiar with the original sort of system. And I'm playing Thousand Year Door. I'm seeing like how they kind of evolved it, and there's a lot of cool little things I didn't anticipate. Like, it feels. I mean, I'm also coming off fresh from playing Mario RPG as well, so just kind of feeling the differences between those two and this one. Like, there's a lot more. Like, there's the audience interaction, right? You can go into the audience and snuff people out, or like sometimes the scenery, because you battle on a theater stage. Like, the environment is more interactive during battles, and there's also the super guard feature. Like, there's a surprising more amount of nuance than I expected for this version of the Paper Mario combat, and I'm enjoying it. I think it's pretty awesome.
Have you been getting badges? Because badges really make the combat a lot more interesting. You can get a ton of different moves that aren't normally available.
When I've leveled up, I prioritize just expanding my BP.
Yeah, I've been doing mainly BP and FP, and then I just had 10 health like most of the way through chapter 2, and I was like, I need more health. My partners have twice my health.
Yeah, well, I got a badge that gave me more health, so.
Yeah, I have one, but I haven't. I've been using other things.
Yeah, but I like I like the combat. It feels really good. I love the audience interaction, the environment interaction. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any questions for me since you've played this before. You're more acquainted to the game than I am.
Okay. How do you feel about the game in general, like the characters, the story, like how do you trying to figure out a more specific way to ask this question.
It's good.
It's good.
It's good.
Because I feel like the beginning of the game is actually it's really good, but it gets way better at like chapter 3 onward.
Okay.
So I am curious if you think the game feels like slow or simple, because like a lot of the puzzles especially like getting a Ducktail Castle and stuff, or like getting the Sun and Moon Rock. They're very simple. The quiz is pretty simple, like a lot of things. Do you feel like the game is maybe too simple? Because I don't know if it's just because I
Hey
know
man,
the game so well.
that
I'm like, I
quiz
know
was
exactly what to
that
do.
quiz was just right.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I got
because
it first try.
yeah, well, I kind of did too. So like, I had started it when I was recording footage for a video, and I realized a quiz for like background footage is probably not the best. So I was like, I'm gonna record a different game. So I cut it off, and so I just exited it, right. So I didn't save. So the beginning of the quiz, I had to start over, right. So I never finished the quiz the first time, but I got the same questions wrong, even with second guesses. So I think I started like 0-1, and then I was 1-1. You can only be wrong 3 times, right? But you have to get right 5 times. I think that was
Yeah.
right. So like, I think I was like, I after 4 questions, I was like 2-2. So I had to get like the next 3 correct. And actually, I think I was one. No, I started off 1 correct and 2 wrong.
Oh God.
So I had to get 4 right. So it was really stressful. And I was
I
like, oh my
forgot
God.
that you actually could miss a few because I got all of them correct in just one.
So I got to 7 questions, right? So maybe you only get to
Nice,
5.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
know. Yeah, I only got the 5. I forgot they didn't just repeat the questions if you got them wrong.
I was so convinced that I was gonna get the last one wrong. Um, but the last one was
I mean,
extremely easy.
like
But
the one
it
about
was
the
so
mayor's name
easy.
is pretty hard, but I talked to literally every single NPC with Goombella, so I knew what his name was.
Well, pretty much that's what I forget. I forget people's names. And also I wasn't paying attention that I had to get the sun and moon stones. I was just like, oh, I have to get the crystal
Oh,
star, or like I somehow I thought that was the dungeon. I didn't realize that. I thought that I don't know. I never really thought about what the sun and moon stones were for. I thought that the beginning of that Thwomp questionnaire
hmm.
was somehow going to get me straight into like Thorntail's dungeon, like underground. I didn't realize that it was just going to give me jewels that would then lead to going
Yeah,
elsewhere to get it.
it doesn't. It
But
does not get you into Hooktail Castle.
so I got that question wrong, and there was the name of a character that I'm bad with names, so I just forgot it. But the final question was, what number question is this? And there's literally a number that says like what question it is in the background. But in case it was one of those things where I was definitely overthinking it because I
Right.
wanted to be 100% sure I would get it right, because it was stressful for me because I was on the verge of losing pretty much the
And some of
entire
them are
quiz.
just free questions.
Oh yeah, for sure. So for me, it worked out. For me, it was like the perfect amount of
One of the
stresses.
questions is
Yeah.
like, "What are you looking for?" Like the crystal star. It's like, "Where is the crystal star?" Hooktail's castle.
Yeah, but I wasn't. But we only think that the crystal star is in Hooktail's castle. We don't know. So
Oh, true.
yeah.
Yeah, but the
Anyway,
other options
yeah,
are often ridiculous.
it was a good time. I enjoyed that. I mean, I just enjoy the game. If I don't feel like critiquing it. I don't really have anything to critique. I mean, if you want me to be extremely nitpicky, I could be like, yeah, I mean, maybe the story could have been even more like enthralling early on, but I think it's been pretty good. But
How
I'm
do you
not
feel
trying
about
to
like
go in
the?
expecting like some sort of. I understand that there's some elements in Thousand Year Door that are perhaps a little bit deeper and more grim than other Paper
It's a pretty
Mario
good
games.
story, actually.
Yeah, but I'm not assuming I'm gonna get a super deep story from the get go or anything
No.
like that. And I'm also, I didn't expect like a crazy like inciting incident, like oh my god, someone died, or like that. That would be interesting though if they started a Paper Mario game where something insane happens character wise, right? You could argue that happens with Origami King with what they do with Peach. Like
Hmm.
Thousand Door
I'm
Base
not gonna
basically starts
spoil
off, hey, let's have a
anything.
fun adventure. I'm not saying there. Listen, I know that there's probably some serious shit that does happen, but in terms of like the very start, because that's all I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, hey, let's have a fun adventure. Okay, clearly Peach was kidnapped. Maybe we're not even sure. So yeah, but it's been fun. Visually, the game looks stellar. I love it.
Yeah.
I
Something
yeah,
I've noticed is I thought that the input response might be like laggy because it's 30 FPS, and oftentimes console games at 30 FPS are like really high input lag.
Mm.
But the input lag is like insanely low. Like it feels almost like instant response. Like if you're walking around or jumping or using your hammer, it's just like as soon as I hit the button, it's just like wow. I'm like I sat there and I was just like, can I tell the time between when I press the button and when the animation starts? Like, can I tell that there's a gap? And I couldn't. Like I just kept pressing B. I was like, nope. It feels like it happens as soon as I hit the button. Exactly. It's crazy. It's some of the lowest input like I've ever felt in a 30 FPS game, even on PC, which is a very impressive feat. It absolutely blows me away how good the input response is in this game.
It's interesting that you talk about it from that perspective. Like, I was never concerned about input lag, but maybe I haven't been as sensitive to those things as you. You're more of a PC gamer, right? Or you have been in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have felt pretty good about it. I've been pretty good with the action commands. I feel like they
Yeah.
felt great. If I'm not mistaken, I'm coming off of playing Super Mario RPG somewhat recently. And like I beat Mario RPG this year, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So I didn't play it immediately when it came out. I bought it a little bit after, and I'm pretty sure that's a 60 FPS game. And I haven't really felt like I haven't felt any disconnect at all while playing Thousand Year Door.
The
At
frame
the same
rate
time,
on Super Mario RPG though is not super great. There's a lot of times where it's like 40 to 60 FPS.
Super Mario RPG. Okay, you're saying
Yes.
it has a choppy frame rate, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
sometimes it's perfect, but there's a lot of areas where it does dip, which apparently people have unlocked Paper Mario and tried to see like how it would run. It's about the same. Like some areas hit 60, but a lot of areas are like 40 to 60.
Yeah. I think for me, my general feeling with Thousand Year Door, it's just kind of like, oh, this is like just a honest to good magical Nintendo game. Like it's like, oh, this is a good Nintendo adventure. Like that's kind of what I feel from it. And like maybe that sounds really basic, but I think a lot of you know what I'm getting at. Like I haven't felt like that since I don't know, Mario Wonder or Mario RPG, I guess. Like or even before that. So it's pretty good, right? Like there hasn't been anything this year that I felt compelled to really get into until this.
Right.
And so I feel the magic, I feel the quality of the game. I mentioned the visuals are awesome, but something that I think should be noted is just the level of interaction with the environment. And I know I talked about interaction like within the combat, but like literally exploring the world. Like there are so many things that you can cause, like shake or you can break or smash. Right. Even like every character on screen as well. Like not a lot of games have that level of interactivity, and I think it's something that's worth noting. I wonder if it was like that for the original. I'm assuming the answer is yes.
Yes.
Like, could you like go into a room and shake everything in the cupboard and the tables, and could you go out and stomp every piece of grass and annoy every enemy or character that's out there?
Pretty much. There may be, I don't remember, maybe the grass might have been slightly less interactive, or it at least was different because it was a little more realistic take on grass. But besides like a few differences, which because of the art style, I think the interactivity is pretty much the same.
Okay. Yeah, but it feels good. I love
the game looks stunning, especially like in indoor areas.
Like
they
seem to have like light going through the windows. Yeah, it looks awesome.
They seem to have used some kind of like pre-calculated like global illumination or something like offline ray tracing that was then baked into the environment. And then it has like screen space ambient occlusion for like dynamic objects. So the game actually looks extremely impressive a lot of the times.
The floor always looks good.
Oh yeah, they got screen space reflections, which pretty much have like no issues because the camera angle is pretty much static, so you don't get those like huge occlusion issues that you usually do.
Yeah, the only time the camera angle changes for a cutscene. Pretty much.
I mean, the game pretty much looks like it uses ray tracing. If it was real time, there would be some nice things that would look better. But the game already looks super stunning.
Yeah, I remember when I saw the first trailer, I was like, "Oh, will this game have ray tracing on Switch too?" Like, it looks like it already has like a really good lighting effect. So it would have been interesting if there's a ray traced version. But yeah, man, I'm excited for the game. I think it's really good. So
Oh, another
we
thing I
continue playing
wanted
it.
to point out is it is a great use of HD Rumble. I was not expecting
Oh
that. It's kind of hit or
yeah,
miss whether Nintendo
yeah,
uses HD Rumble very well, but it is an extremely effective, heavily used feature in this game.
Brandon. Do you know where I'm going?
No,
It gets me.
but
It
can
gets me.
go.
It gets me thinking on the future proofing. The future proofing,
The
Brandon.
future proofing.
What if on Switch 2? I mean, I hope they just have better Rumble, but what if at least they start to use HD Rumble more consistently? Because it hasn't been a consistent thing, and perhaps moving into this next generation, especially now with Sony, where they have their controller with the more advanced Rumble that
Right.
developers are using more often. Maybe now it's a little bit more of a norm, and so developers across the board are going to be taking advantage of more detailed, nuanced Rumble effects.
Mm. I would like that. I would like that.
Yeah.
HD Rumble is one of my favorite Switch features. That's very underutilized.
Yeah.
I think the only more underutilized feature on Switch would be like the IR sensor
Sure.
or IR camera.
Yeah. To everyone in the chat, we're wrapping up the discussion. We might talk for about another 15 minutes or so, maybe 20. So if you could throw in, I mean, we're already at 2 hours, but put out some Q&A, right? I mean, it's questions that we'll provide answers. Like any questions or ideas you want addressed or discussed, put them out now. And then we'll try and get to them as we close out for the night. Yeah, was there anything else you want to say regarding Paper Mario, Brandon?
I wanted to ask you how you felt about like the original characters in the game, like the X-Nauts. Those are like a whole new species. You haven't gotten. There's so many
I'm sure there is.
actual like completely unique new
Like not
races.
like Mario Universe characters like
Yeah,
under different circumstances and changed, but like just completely new
right.
species or race, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the Batoonies, I think they're called. That's like these little mice creatures. That's the one I was just dealing
Oh,
with
I
in
ran
chapter
into
2.
one.
Yes,
Like
you see one. There's a lot of foreshadowing actually.
yeah.
If you look in a Rogue Port, there you can find another character that is a kind of I forget what they are called, but they're like a dark shadowy character, and they are a hint towards another. I think the
Interesting.
fourth or fifth area.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's actually a lot of foreshadowing for later areas early on in the game, which is I find pretty neat.
I did get the whatchamacallit. I've already been exposed to the Shadow Brothers or what have you.
Shadow
Whatever.
Sisters.
Are they called Shadow Brothers or Sisters?
Sisters. Technically, they're called the Shadow Sirens, I think. They're sisters.
I don't remember.
I know for a fact that that's sisters.
All right. I know one of them is the girl, right? But yeah, I don't know. But sure, the sisters. Yeah, I saw them and so they were kind of cool, right? Like I guess they're gonna be a threat or something in chapter 2. So that's interesting.
Yes.
And I don't know what they are. I guess they're shadow people. I do like the curses. They're funny. It's like, oh, I'm going to curse you.
Yes.
But actually
That is
make you more powerful.
One of the coolest parts of the game, and it really makes like going back to other areas. Because if you notice, even in Hooktail Castle, there are things that you cannot get the first time. I don't know if you found an area where you were like, there's a crack in this wall. I can't do anything about that. But
yeah, I mean, I've noticed things that I'm like, oh, I can't do that yet. Yeah, I'm aware.
You get not only do you get different powers with like your hammer and your boots, but also you get the curses, which allow you to explore in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I like them. They're cool. And something that I guess it's interesting just thinking about, because I remember from what I understood, 1,000-Year Door, it didn't seem to be very papery, and I'm assuming, I mean, these mechanics
more comic book style.
Okay, yeah, I mean that makes sense, especially with how these depict the shadows. But I guess my point is that these mechanics kind of help with that motif. And before you see them, it doesn't seem like the paper Mario motif is as strong with Thousand Year Door. I mean, now it seems like it because they literally changed the art style to match that more so. But with the
Right.
original, I wasn't aware of that, especially because I didn't know about the curse moves. So it's cool. But yeah, I'm having a fun time with the game. I think it's awesome. I can't wait to play more.
Yeah. And the coolest part about that is the game only gets better with time.
I bet it does.
I was kind of worried that you were going to think the beginning was slow, actually.
No. Well, I mean, I think it's good.
I think part of the reason I thought it was slow going back is because I played the beginning so many times.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I haven't been super sucked into it, right? But I don't. But sometimes that's not necessarily at the fault of the game. That's just the fault of me with life. But I've also haven't been like anti-sucked, right? Like I'm not
Yes.
I'm not forcing myself to play. I'm just like, all right, I want to play more. Like I have that sense of, oh, this is a cool like Nintendo adventure. I want to explore more of this world and see it. Like, I have that interest in it. So yeah, I'm in for the long haul.
Have you been going around with Goombella and making sure to like tattle on every enemy and stuff?
No.
Or you just been going through?
Occasionally, if I see an opportunity to do it where it's not going to cost me a turn, I do it. So basically, like if I'm already about to kill an enemy, I'll do it. But now, especially now that I have Coops, like it costs me a turn just to switch to her. So
yeah,
I'm probably never gonna.
But you only have to do it the first time that you run into that enemy type, and then you can see their health.
Recognize
all the
that,
time.
But also I haven't had any issues with any of the enemies, so it's kind of like I don't need her advice. It's
it
nice
also counts towards 100%, but you don't. I doubt you care about that.
Yeah, I'm not thinking I have to do 100% Thousand Year Door.
The best thing for you then is there's a badge that you can buy. Have you found the person that sells badges?
I've friend to a couple people. I don't know.
There's only one person that sells badges. They're for star pieces.
Oh, you know what? I think I do. Yeah, they're in the underground of Rogueport.
Yeah, directly to the left after you go. There's a badge that you can see everybody's health. I just want to. I want to have 100% on this game. I've never 100%ed this game before. I want to 100% it. So I'm tattling literally every enemy. I'm making sure to tattle on the bosses because I don't think you can fight the bosses again. So I think you have to tattle on them when you fight them. Otherwise, you just can't 100% the game, pretty much. Technically. I don't think you get a reward for it, though. I'm just being picky. But there is a badge that I bought, and I was saving up for, and I did end up buying it, even though I couldn't use it. But it's a badge that lets you use your partner even after you switch. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. Then I can switch to Goombella, tattle, switch back, attack, and not waste 2 turns. But then I realized the badge is 7 BP. 7! That's ridiculous.
Big number.
Yeah.
Okay. So checking the poll.
It's almost all my BP.
Guys, we're coming back to the chat now. So, any final questions or ideas, put them in now as we wrap up here. But I had asked earlier, 25 minutes ago, have you picked up Paper Mario Thousand Year Door? Got 77 votes. 18% said never.
How dare you?
21% said maybe someday. 27% said soon. And 35% have said of course. We got another vote in.
Yes.
So.
Just clapping. I don't know if
welcome to the Thousand Year Door tribe. Yeah, let's go. Of course, they round down numbers, whatever. Anyways, going back through the chat, looking at some questions and points people brought up.
If you want to end that poll, actually, I'm curious to see.
I did.
You should put up a poll if people think the Direct's gonna be on the 5th, 12th, or 19th.
Oh, okay. Sure.
And that can be the final poll to close out the show.
All right. So, when do you think? But what poll we're gonna have next week?
We can do it again next week. It's not like the same. There's
sure.
Some people can't be on every week.
I'm sure we'll have something else to talk about next week. When do you think the June Direct will
Who
be
knows if it's on the
this
5th? It
year.
might be announced. Actually, was the?
It could.
Oh, I guess it wouldn't have been announced by then, but still.
It might be announced on a Tuesday. Yeah, because
Yeah,
the next Tuesday is the 4th.
Yeah.
So if we do, we don't necessarily do the shows on Tuesdays. It just kind of depends on availability.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
June 12th, June the 19th. Should I put the last day of the?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Right. If technically there's another full week in the month, this would be unprecedented. But well, not totally unprecedented, but June 26th. I kind of wanted to put canceled option, but
That sounds so unlikely.
yeah, I'm assuming it's happening on a Wednesday, guys. So, if you're like, hey, but this is not the date I predict, just assume if you don't agree on Wednesday for whatever reason, just assume within that week. Canceled would have been a better choice than June 26th. Just saying.
What?
It would have been fun. Because for sure people would have picked
Would have thrown off the poll.
Yeah. I'm
We need
surprised.
scientific data.
I'm surprised. A lot of people are siding with my June 12th prediction so far.
All right.
Yeah. June 19th is still doing well
You
though,
bunch
so
of
I could see
asses.
it's still early, so it could be overtaken. No one's picking June 26th. It's odd.
That's not surprising.
I mean, it's not odd. I mean, of the 4 dates, I would say June 26th is the least likely.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just surprised that a lot of people are siding with my 12th prediction. Maybe it's because I made it. I've
made a decent case.
I've convinced people. Yeah, we'll see. Connor asks me, why would you think it'd be on a Wednesday? I have work on that day.
Well, take it off. Just bet on, whichever one wins the poll, take that day off.
So the reason why I think you'd be on a Wednesday is because most Nintendo Directs are on Wednesdays. And that's pretty much it. Like if you just look at the history of Nintendo Directs, especially over the last few years, they've happened on Wednesdays. Now they've happened on different days in the past. They've happened on Thursdays before. They've happened on Tuesdays before, but in general, they happen on Wednesdays. So
this is what
that's
Nintendo
why.
has decided.
Yeah, but that can always change, right? It's no guarantee.
This time it's going to be on a Sunday.
Nature Boy asked me, maybe we get Luigi's Story with DLC and Paper Mario.
Bro, that would be so hype, but for DLC for a remake sounds so unlikely.
Yeah.
Something interesting is the game was confirmed to be made on the Origami King engine. So it is in fact a remake, not a remaster.
Which we knew from the first.
Pretty obvious.
Right? But we've argued tooth and nail with people for the entire time. But yeah. We know, Brandon, we know. We
always knew the truth.
Yeah.
Not that it really matters too much.
It really doesn't matter at all. And I don't want to do like the whole I was right, you were wrong thing.
But I will.
Yep. It's just I think it kind of shows that not a lot of people have an eye for distinguishing the difference. I think a lot of people kind of jump to conclusions about
we've
certain
done
things.
the same thing in the past.
I mean, sure, yeah, yeah. In this case, we were right, but there are other cases where we've been wrong. Yeah, for sure. Like, was Xenoblade Chronicles? I think Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition was a learning experience for me.
That's the most obvious one to me. Yeah. That's when I was like, ooh, I should have held my tongue till I saw more footage. But also, it was a lot less obvious. Like, literally, the entire art style of Paper Mario is different. Whereas this is just like, it looks like all the assets and the lighting are changed. But in reality, when you see the full game, there's a lot of stuff still.
But I guess the other question is, what engine is Definitive Edition even made on, though? Because if it's made on, like, the modern Xenoblade engine, then what is it actually, Like, because...
I mean, maybe they
game
worded it, but it's definitely still the same base code with the same base asset, just with work on top of it. It's pretty obvious that that's what it is. I mean, a lot of the same assets are still there with new textures. Not everything was changed.
Yeah, not everything was changed, but a lot of it was reworked significantly.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So, but I mean, I think that was just a learning experience, right? That came out back in 2020. That was 4 years ago. What we know now is different than, at least for me. I feel like I've gotten better at understanding these things now versus 4 years ago. So, like, I think, like, for example, like what I've learned since is like listening to different interviews from developers. It's just how developers look at remakes and remasters, right? And basically it comes down to the code, right? Sometimes it's not even that obvious. But in the case of Thousand Year Door, we were like, okay, this is clearly a completely new art style. This looks like it was made in the Origami King engine, and it's at a different frame rate. And all those things sort of suggested they had to kind of rebuild the game from scratch to do this. So that's why we basically thought it was a remake, which now we know. So yeah.
And the game doesn't play exactly the same. Like the timings for a lot of things are different. There's a lot of different nips and tucks. It's not always very obvious, and obviously they made the game to be like the original.
Sure.
But it's when you play the game and you've played the original, it's pretty clear that some of the things have been altered, and it's not the exact same code. It's just kind of been remade. It's just new code that's meant to be similar to the original.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Wait.
Get the demons out.
Yeah, hopefully. Donnie Hernandez in the chat says there is a report of the Capcom, according to Necrofleet, both Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica remake will be released on Switch 2 natively. That sounds awesome. Let me look this up. Necro.
Have any of the other remakes on like modern RE Engine remakes gotten Switch ports?
There's the cloud versions.
Yeah, just cloud versions.
Yeah.
Are these new projects, or are these like Code Zero? Are these new remakes like on the RE Engine, like Resident Evil 4 and 2 and 3, or is this like an older remaster or something?
No, the modern Resident Evil games are on Switch Cloud. I don't think Resident Evil 4 remake is though.
No, but I'm just talking about like these. What are these games like? Are these the same caliber as those games, or are they more?
Okay, all right. So this is something I'm learning now. I did not know this. Right, I read it in the chat, and I have now found an article and a tweet about it. So here we go. I'll share it with you guys all. We're gonna read through together. So this is coming from Aesthetic Gamer, aka Dusk Golem. Fuck it. I am choosing to be the one to burst the bubble in a bigger way of what's going on with the Resident Evil stuff. First, I would wipe the expectations of Resident Evil 9 being announced this summer. I didn't realize there was a Resident Evil 8.
That'd be Village.
Oh, okay. Okay. I actually played Village, so I played 8 without even knowing. Okay, I get it.
I've not played it, but I've seen people play. It looks very.
It's awesome. I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't put it as my favorite Resident Evil, but it was a good one. Now, the initial murmurs I heard, and now I do believe are right, and Resident Evil 9's announcement is further away than this upcoming summer. Sorry for the back and forth on that. That's my fault. Resident Evil 1 remake rumors are bullshit. As far as I know, Resident Evil 1 is not in any form of development at all right now. Resident Evil 5 is not actively in development now either. It's been funny seeing this.
I mean, that would make sense. Resident Evil 5 is not the most popular game. 5 and 6.
Yeah. He says, it's been funny seeing this be what people think is happening publicly. Resident Evil 9 is pushed back to late 2025, 2026. If everything I've heard is correct, which I fully believe it is, and I know others have hinted this, and I'm not the first one to say this publicly, actually, it's just not caught on. There's actually a remake of Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica in development right now. Those are on GameCube, if I'm not mistaken. They were cool.
So. Is at least Resident Evil 0 remake of the first game?
No, it's actually like The Hobbit.
Oh, okay. Isn't there a remake of the first game on GameCube and PS2?
I think there is. Yeah. What's Code Veronica? Is Code Veronica like a 2.5 or something?
I don't know anything about these like kind of not spin-offs, but I guess they're spin-offs.
Resident Evil Code Veronica came out for the GameCube, for the Dreamcast at one point.
Oh, the Dreamcast. Interesting.
At first.
Dreamcast was just such a crazy machine. So ahead of its time.
I'm trying to remember where it is in the timeline. The game is set 3 months after it is a Resident Evil 2.5.
Okay.
It's actually a Resident Evil 2 and 3.5. I don't know. But yeah, it's like an in between. But anyway, back to
because Resident Evil 3 is pretty much a Resident Evil 2.5.
I can't find. Okay, here we go. Anyway, continue with reading this. So Zero and Code Veronica are in development right now. I've talked to many others behind the scenes about this at this point. It's something I've heard over a year ago. I think it was going to get out whether I was the one to say it or not. And that's about it. And then Necrofelipe says, and both on Switch 2 natively.
Oh, Switch 2 natively. Okay, that makes much more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is I count this as a leak. It almost, you know what I mean? Like the way he says it, like, is this him saying, yeah, this is what I think? This is what I assume, right? Or is this like, oh yeah, this is what I heard? You know?
Just to clarify, does anybody ask him?
Let's click on it. Let's see what's said here. This is Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese. And what is your source, friend? My source is none of your business, silly. I mean, he's not saying. I mean, it sounds like
he's saying he has a source, but
right? He didn't say it wasn't. He didn't specify it was like that was an opportunity to say, hey, this is just my theory or speculation, right?
Right.
It sounds like from this is he knows that this is what is happening.
Yeah. And apparently. I think when you're a leaker like that, you don't want to be confusing because your track record is important to you.
Yeah, I know, but you know, everyone operates a little differently, so I've seen confusion before. But you know, I'll say that I'm not saying I completely disbelieve Necro. Like lately, I think a lot of this comes down to the quiet that Nintendo kind of offered us in the early parts of this year, and they're still quiet now, but we know we're getting close, right? You know, we had people like Brazil, Necrofelipe, and there were other people who we thought were like even like Nash Weedle, and these people that I had seen that had gotten some things right or were respected by certain circles. And so like I would talk about them, right? Because I was like, okay, yeah, these people seem to have some credibility. But as time has progressed and things have been incorrect, delayed, or changed, or we've discovered longer track histories of some inaccuracies, I've slowed down on some of these people because I'm more skeptical of them, right? I wouldn't put Necrofelipe like below Nash Weedle or Zippo level, right? I think he's above them, but I'm also not like, oh yeah, he said this is happening for sure. You know, so we'll yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like if they're happening.
I feel like yeah, I mean, it's not like a crazy thing, right? And also, there's someone else saying this already, right? And I'm not familiar with the Resident Evil Capcom League thing, but based off their notoriety, right, it doesn't seem like it seems like that's what they're known for. They're known for someone who would know that, right?
I think Switch 2 is likely going to get 2, 3, and 4 at the very least. Probably 8, maybe even 7 eventually.
At some point,
all native ports. I mean, we have cloud versions of most of those games on Switch, so native ports for Switch 2 wouldn't be too difficult, and you get a lot of sales. Makes perfect sense. I would be shocked if we didn't get every single like RE remake game that's come out recently.
Yeah,
and and 7 and 8.
Yeah,
and 9, whenever that comes out.
Yeah, I don't disbelieve this though, right? Like rumor or not, like if these Resident Evil games are happening, from what we understand of Switch 2, I'm expecting more day and date third party games. Now it hasn't been confirmed yet, right? We haven't seen it yet, so it's kind of like until we start seeing this, it's hard to actually believe it, right?
True.
But from everything we've
Resident Evil
heard,
games, they're nothing that the Switch 2 won't be extremely capable of handling.
sure,
Maybe not Resident, like we don't know what's happening with Resident Evil 9. There could be like a huge expanded scope and it's way heavier than all the other games and it barely even runs on the PS5 and Xbox Series X or something. I don't know, but it's
sure,
unlikely. So,
yeah,
I mean, with what Resident Evil is, I would expect exactly this kind of support for Switch 2. Like these are the exact kind of games that I think are going to be coming out hot hot and heavy on Switch 2 and day and date releases with the newer ones.
sure, yeah. I'm trying to believe you, so we're on the same page there. Brony Prony Productions asked me, do you think we'll get a Smash Ultimate port on Switch 2? I mean, porting Ultimate makes much more sense than making a new game from scratch and cutting a bunch of characters, right?
I think it depends on what vision they have for Smash because
Yeah,
if they go a different direction and they change like some things about Smasher, maybe they want to focus more on single player or maybe there's a lot of different things they can do to make the next Smash game feel very unique and not just this is the same game but with less characters. Because obviously they can't do that. They can't just come up with another Smash game. But like, it's the new Smash game, plays pretty much the same as the other one, but there's way less characters. Like, they can't do that.
no, I think they would have to reinvent the wheel. So I'm kind of thinking either A, we go to Smash Ultimate Deluxe, or we have to wait a little bit while longer and we get like a new Smash game. I mean, really, I see three options: Smash Ultimate Deluxe, there's the fourth option, but that one I'm not sure how I feel about right now. Smash Ultimate Deluxe, right? I think that's self-explanatory. A brand new Smash that, to your point, is kind of like they do something different with it. Maybe it's almost like a reboot, right? And so that kind of affords them the opportunity to just not have as big of a roster. The third option is have a bigger roster. One up Smash Ultimate. I don't know what you call it. I don't know what you name it, but do it again.
I don't know how it's possible.
Sure, but we're not sure they would go to one up Smash for Wii U and 3DS, and they did. So that's kind of it's every time they make a Smash game, we're like, geez, can they really one up this? And they do. So I'm not saying they will, but they could. So we'll see, right? And then the fourth option is they just have like an update, and maybe they do port Smash Ultimate, maybe with all the DLC, and it has visual enhancements. Maybe it is a deluxe, right? But they also have a Fighters Pass Volume 3 at the same time. So like maybe you could still even something that Switch 1 owners can still enjoy, even if Switch 2 having a updated version that has a third Fighters Pass. Like that's also possible. Yeah. So take your pick. But I'm really not. Of those four options, I'm not sure where I align because I think they go into either direction.
In my opinion, I think they will pull a Mario Kart 8 and they will make a deluxe version, and then they will figure out what they're doing with the series and have that on the either late gen and Switch 2 or the beginning of Switch 3 generation. Probably that will be the first game that Sakurai does not work on.
One would be crazy if they pull a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but not just in Deluxe, but also release timing. Like, what if? Check this out. So, what if the first month of Switch 2 is Metroid Prime 4, and the second month is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Deluxe? And
Mario Kart delayed, or was Mario Kart the second month or the third month?
It came out April.
Okay, I thought
it came out late April, so it's more like a month and a half.
Okay, that's why it felt so long. Okay.
Yeah. But like that would be kind of cool. Like I wouldn't be against that. I don't think it would work out as well because let's remind ourselves that most people didn't have a Wii U, right? So Mario Kart Deluxe was like almost like a brand new game for most people. Right. But I also think that with Mario Kart Deluxe, they didn't give us any new tracks at first. So it was battle. There were new tracks, but just for battle mode, right? Like the battle mode was completely overhauled. But if you didn't care for battle mode like me, it was just kind of like, all right, well, I'm getting Mario Kart Deluxe because I want it on Switch and it has double items and purple drift. Like
Yeah.
that was why I was excited about it. So the battle mode was like a novelty for me. I didn't play it too much, even though I recognize it is good for a lot of people. Smash Ultimate, I would be hyped if they brought back Target Break. Bring back
Oh,
Target Break
yes.
and maybe give us a better
Or the
single player.
platforms.
I actually didn't end up liking World of Light too much. I kind of wish they gave
No.
it something like either like adventure mode, like in Melee, or just give us a
Yeah.
subspace emissary, like
Yes.
a Smash
Please.
Ultimate Deluxe that gives us a new subspace emissary and a Target Break and just more characters and stages, maybe a few more items as well. That's a recipe for success. Also, better net
A
code,
lot of work.
better net code for better online. That's probably the biggest thing that like Smash to me, you just can't play online. You just can't do it.
Yeah, it's not great. It's pretty bad actually. It's fairly awful. Practically unplayable. It's not good.
What's the mode they put in 3DS? The
Like run something.
like Smash, is it what
Smash
called
Run?
Smash Run or something? It was like an kind of like an adaptation of what they did in Kirby's Air Ride, where you kind of run around an environment, collect power ups, and then duke it out.
I really thought they were gonna have that in Ultimate, and I was very sad
they
didn't.
had like an alternative thing which I didn't like as much. That would be cool to see in Deluxe as well.
Yeah,
so that'd be nice.
I think Subspace Emissary is probably a lot too much to ask. This is a pretty in-depth single player with a lot of very high-quality cutscenes made, but maybe an adventure mode like in Melee.
It is also
But
Smash.
honestly, they could
Smash.
just release a deluxe edition that has like basically no new content, and then but it has 4K 60, and then it has a Fighter's Pass.
Yeah.
And that will give them more time to like figure out what they want to do with
the
Smash.
thing is, if they do that, like I don't know, I feel like they should do it in a way where it's gonna make people want to buy Smash again. Or maybe they don't. Maybe it's my idea where, hey, you can buy Switch 2, or maybe you just get the upgrade if you already have Smash, right?
Right.
And then they will announce a new Fighters Pass, and so you just get the Fighters Pass, and there'll be more new characters.
Yeah.
That's an option.
And then if for people who didn't buy it, they can buy the Switch 2 version.
Yeah. Or maybe it just makes more sense. Just make a new damn Smash Brothers. That's simple. Just yes. Smash Ultimate, Smash Ultimate, Smash Meta Ultimate.
I don't know. I don't think it's realistic for them to one up Smash Ultimate trying to follow the same formula. I think it's just the budget at that point would just be absolutely insane.
Okay. But Smash Ultimate warrants a good budget. Look at the sales. Like
but
what?
I just don't think that they can. Or I don't think that they should. I don't think it's reasonable to expect them to one up Smash Ultimate.
I like
or even
what
create a new game
TYG
with the same amount of
suggestion.
content.
Highly replayable single co-op roguelike stuff.
Keep in mind, Smash Ultimate has a lot of content now. It's been like touched up and heavily enhanced, but a lot of it is Wii U content from the Wii U and 3DS games. Like a lot of it. It's not all new content itself. So it itself had a huge base to work off of to get to where it is.
And they have
for a brand new game,
a bigger base. I think if you give us a new single player, maybe like what TYG suggested, like a Metroidvania, like something like Subspace Emissary, but a little bit better. Like I know you're saying that it's expensive, and listen, I'm talking
about a new game here.
Sure. Well, actually, this is a good question, Brandon. It almost sounded like you're suggesting Smash Ultimate was a port.
I mean, it is not a port, but there are a lot of aspects that were ported over and then enhanced.
So the thing is, games and like it's like saying, "Oh, Tears of the Kingdom is a port," right? Like, it's not a port. I would say Smash Ultimate's more different than, I don't know. It's tough to say. Smash Ultimate,
all the Wii U stages have a lot better graphics than the Wii U versions of those stages. I'll tell you that. They look a lot better.
Smash Ultimate, like every stage just looks way better. Everything on Smash
Yeah.
Ultimate looks a lot better than
What I'm
Wii U.
saying is even the ones that were in the Wii U, they
Oh
enhanced them a
yeah,
lot. They
no,
look a
they
lot
did.
better.
Like everything looks significantly better, visually. But it's not. It's a lot of it's not even remastered. A lot of it's like remade.
Yeah.
All the characters are reworked, right? The mechanics are different.
Yeah. Although the characters I say are probably the thing that looks the most similar to Wii U. Is that just most of the characters look very, very similar. I mean, some of them are completely like changed, like Link, obviously, and like Zelda, but a lot of them are basically the Wii U models.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on from the Smash stuff because, well, we got a lot of
talk
other
about
things.
that for a long time, and it was just one comment.
Yeah, exactly. And also, we're supposed to be wrapping up.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it's a tough call, Brony Pony. It's tough. Let's see here. Velociraptor Ghost. Do you think with all the Ocarina of Time rumors, instead of a remake, that the Zelda movie is an adaptation of Ocarina of Time? Nope.
No,
not at all.
I don't think it's an adaptation of any game.
Yeah, I also think that. So this, when we say Ocarina of Time rumors, right? This is where like wording is really important, right? If you notice, most of the time I refer to Ocarina of Time as a theory. It's a theory I have. There were rumors for an Ocarina of Time HD once upon a time, and there were rumors for Ocarina of Time remake even more recently, but they weren't coming from the most credible of places, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people will agree with that. That said, I think the claim to an Ocarina of Time remake as a theory is extremely solid for a variety of reasons I've discussed in the past. So I just want to make that clarification, right? That said, the point is, I still think it's happening, right? Like, effectively, right. Like, rumor theory, I still think it's happening. It's just, what it is. I just want to clarify in that. But I mean, to that end, though, like, I don't think there's anything that's like, oh, there's gonna be a movie and like, I don't think that. I guess you could make the argument that with all this Ocarina of Time love, that maybe they're gonna go in that direction for the movie. But when I just don't think that's the right move. I think what they're going to do for the Zelda movie, it's going to be its own thing. It's going to have elements that remind you of different Zelda games throughout. Right. But I don't think they're going to do like, oh, this is Ocarina of Time, the movie. Let's remind ourselves, Ocarina of Time is also a very old game. I don't think you do that. You make just a Legend of Zelda movie, and it's going to have its own brand, its own titling, its own story.
The only thing I know 100% is that they're going to make a reference to It's Dangerous to Go Alone. Take this. There's no way they don't. There's no way. It is the biggest meme in Zelda history by far.
I think they could do an ad. They could do an ad, but I don't know about a scene in the movie. Seeing the movie might be cringe.
Nah, be perfect.
It depends. I'm not saying no. I agree that there will be something on that, but I think it could just be like an ad. Like, imagine you're in the movies, you see the poster and it says It's Dangerous to Go Alone, and you see like Link walking.
I guess it could be an ad, but they will make a reference in either the marketing materials or I would prefer the movie itself. We'll see, but they're definitely gonna reference that. There's no way.
As long as it's done in a way that feels natural, I'm okay with it. Yeah. Got a couple super chats here. Let's get to those. George FT, thank you for the super chat. George says, you think a subspace would be possible for a Smash Ultimate Deluxe with a roster of over 80 characters and done likely within 1 to 2 years in development?
Yeah, I forget that the single player in that game is like every character plays a role. So you have to make like a story that intertwines 80 different characters.
That is the challenging part. Like, as the roster expands, like, how do you include them all into the story? And so it gets bigger and bigger. Like, that's a good point.
That's why we need a reboot. Smaller amount of characters, better story.
Or maybe the story doesn't have to do with the expanded roster. Maybe maybe like there's not going to be that many cutscenes. Maybe the core roster is where the cutscenes are at. And the extra characters you can still play with and you can still add them, but they don't do like a crazy cutscene for all of them, not for this subspace emissary. Like, the cutscenes are just for the core roster. I think that's how you would do it. Now, I also don't know if I would say there would just be 1 to 2 years of development. I don't know.
Honestly, I feel like if you
Yeah.
focused on just the core roster, then there's no point in doing it for Smash Ultimate, and you shouldn't do it at all.
What?
If you're not gonna go all the way and do it with all 80
Would
characters,
it be Smash
don't do it
Ultimate?
for
Be
Smash
another
Ultimate.
Smash Brothers game.
Yeah, but he's saying for Smash Ultimate Deluxe.
But like, there's plenty of games that have a main story, right? That only focus on a certain amount of characters, and then it's still a fighting, and there's still fighting games that have other characters outside of the main story. This isn't like a new thing. So I don't.
I don't think it would
We've
be.
seen it in
I
Dragon
wouldn't want
Ball
to see it.
Fighters, for example. Like it's not. I thought it's not. I don't think it's really that.
I have
crazy.
no interest in it in the context of Smash Ultimate. I just don't
On,
think it
on,
makes
on the
any
flip
sense.
side, I also don't necessarily need cutscenes. I just want like a fun kind of like a fun kind of adventure. Like maybe there could only be a few small cutscenes, right? And it's more so just about, maybe it's like a Metroidvania where there's some dialogue moments and that's it. Like in gameplay dialogue moments, like not like you just kind of like how some RPGs you'll have like just the picture of the character,
Yeah,
text box, like that. Like it doesn't have to be that crazy, but like a fun adventure I think would be cool. Now I would love it to have cutscenes everywhere, but also Subspace Emissary was long. I don't need it to be a long thing, and if anything, maybe something that's built to be shorter but more replayable. In different ways, maybe that's how you can get more characters. That might be a better way to do it.
I wouldn't be happy with it. I think it would just lead to a lot of
What makes you happy, Brandon? What's it gonna take to make you happy?
Everything. I need it all. No, if they're gonna do something with that's like a Subspace Emissary with a story, I want cutscenes. It's like the main coolest part of Subspace Emissary. The gameplay is not that good at it.
But what if it's not Subspace Emissary then?
I feel like now we're just talking about the random things for Smash. We're getting very off topic.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, something like Subspace, but simplified, but still fun.
Okay, I'll just tell you what I want. I want them to reboot the series. I want every character that's in the game to be represented in a story mode where they have interesting, unique scenarios that don't necessarily have to be a very complicated story, but you get to see the characters interacting with each other in unique ways, which is the whole coolest part of Subspace Emissary, and you get all these references with all these characters working together that have never been in universe together, which is the whole point of Smash. And if you're not gonna make a single player about that, then don't make one at all. Waste of time.
It'd be fun if it wasn't all just like crazy. Like, what if there's like some slice of life stuff? Like, have you seen that Smash comic? It just kind of shows them interacting with each other.
Yeah.
Like there's still an overall action, dramatic arc, but like if they fit in more slice of life stuff, right? Like maybe there's a hub area. Like
I just want to see the characters interacting in situations that are interesting.
Like imagine it was more like a Metroidvania that has a hub area, right? Like there's a Smash castle, and you're slowly building up the Smash roster, and then there are moments you have with different characters, like that would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what they do. But I'll tell you, man, if the next Smash doesn't have Pyra, I'm going to be disappointed. She's my main. She's so good.
I've barely played as her, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that's okay. She's my main, not yours. Sam Talks Games with a super chat. Thank you for super chat, buddy. What do you envision Switch 2's release year lineup being? I feel like my answers are going to be pretty basic. Metroid Prime 4, 3D Mario Kart, I think are like first for some people. Metroid Prime 4 is not a given, right? But this is my opinion. So my opinion is 3D Mario Kart, Metroid Prime 4. And outside of that, I feel like there should be at least 2 more like Nintendo titles.
I think there'll probably be a new IP of some sort.
Maybe it's the legacy game from Monolith Soft.
Could be.
Yeah. And I think, what about Star Fox? Like a Star Fox with a heavy online multiplayer. They try to push it as like the Splatoon. Like it's like the Splatoon thing. Like it's
Maybe.
a very, like
'Cause I think
it
they
still has a
will wait till
campaign, but
2026 for Splatoon 4.
I mean, I think we're not getting Splatoon like next year. That's not happening.
Yeah, I don't.
We,
I
we
think they'll
just
wait till
we just
2026.
got the wrap up DLC this year. Yeah, you're right. At least 2026. It might be longer.
I don't think it'd be too long.
Splatoon
I mean,
2 came out in
Splatoon 3 did
2017,
not need to happen.
but it
They
still did.
they were just like we need all the Splatoon.
Also, reminder:
All
the
Splatoon all the time.
team is also the Animal Crossing team. I don't know, man. Like, listen, not every Nintendo franchise is going to be available in the first 2 years.
I think Splatoon will be. I think it's that kind of series.
Yeah, but what about Animal Crossing?
Animal Crossing can
You
wait.
see my point, though, right? Like,
Animal
you're
Crossing
saying-
didn't come out in the first 2 years.
No, it didn't. But Splatoon 3 had for Switch. We got to get 2 Splatoons.
So you don't think they're gonna release at least one for Switch 2 within the first 2 years?
No, I don't. I mean, it's possible,
I don't
right?
think
Well,
your
Splatoon
logic makes any sense.
Well, Splatoon 2 came out 2017. Splatoon 3 came out 2023. And in between those games, we had Animal Crossing because they're made by the same developer. So, I mean, are you thinking that they're going to do, they did Splatoon 2, Animal Crossing, Splatoon 3, Splatoon 4, then Animal Crossing? I mean, look how, if you want to talk about sales potential, right? Like, Animal Crossing is a much bigger deal than Splatoon. They're both big deals. But I also think that there might be a little bit of wait, what? You don't think Animal Crossing's a big deal?
No, I do think it's a big deal.
So
But I also
what-
think that the
what were you-
pandemic greatly boosted its sales potential, and it sold way better than every other Animal Crossing. And it's not guaranteed that it will have the same level of success the next time around.
Sure,
Although
but
it
also
likely will have similar success.
New Leaf was already insane for 3DS, right? Like if you think about that comparatively to Switch success, I still think Animal Crossing on
Right.
Switch is a big deal. Like
Splatoon is also a big deal.
I think the notion that the pandemic like doubled Animal Crossing sales is really off. I'm sure
I don't think
it helped.
doubled it, but I think it probably boosted it quite.
Yeah, maybe by 10%.
I think 5 to 10 million copies.
That is more than 10%.
Yes, it is.
But even if you slashed off,
It dropped off a cliff after the pandemic. Like after that initial
Yeah.
hype period, it has not continued to sell. Whereas Splatoon has. Animal Crossing sold all of its units extremely quickly and then died. Splatoon has been consistent.
Let me look this up. Animal Crossing New Horizons sales year by year. Oh crap! It hasn't. It's not doing. It's been weird. Oh, reminder: Animal Crossing's at 45.36 million. So I don't remember Animal Crossing and New Horizons being close to 45 million in a year. So you're saying it fell off a cliff, but I don't know when it fell off a cliff because it
Maybe
didn't get to 45 in a year.
It's been selling better than I thought.
Yeah, that Splatoon 2 is like at what 13 million. Like you can have the Animal Crossing sales and it's still staggeringly higher than Splatoon 2 or 3 sales. So
I mean, this literally doesn't change my opinion on the fact that I still think Splatoon 4 will come out in 2026. I don't think I'm not taking Animal Crossing into account. I don't think you have to. They made Splatoon 2 in 2 years.
They did. So we'll see. We don't have to agree. And also, if you're right, I'm not going to be upset about that because I like Splatoon more than Animal Crossing. So
there you go.
Yeah. But I mean, either way, I think we both agree Splatoon is not coming out next year. It's not there. It's not in the first year. Back to Sam's question, right? I suggested Star Fox. I also think Donkey Kong is in the equation, right? So like my thought process is Mario Kart 3D Mario, Metroid Prime 4, Donkey Kong, Star Fox. I think there's gonna be some sort of party game, maybe like a 1-2 switch thing. I prayed something more like Nintendo Land, something a little bit more unique feeling. Yeah, something like that. The new IP from Monolith Soft, we mentioned that one. I'm not saying we're getting Star Fox and Donkey Kong next year, but I think one of those two could slot into next year on top of the bigger hitters. And I think there's got to be like a big multiplayer game, right? That's why I like kind of think like what is that Star Fox? On the flip side, though, is there maybe a little bit of a is it a little redundant with Metroid Prime 4 multiplayer if that's something that's big and is pushed? It would be different, but is it you know what I mean? Like it's another sci-fi space shooter to an extent. Maybe they want to like have some level of separation there. I still think they would feel they would be very different from each other. But Splatoon would make more sense than that. But also, Metroid Prime 4 might not even have multiplayer, right? So that's another consideration.
Yeah, it may not.
Yeah, and maybe there's another new IP. Maybe they come up with that.
I think they will have. I'm gonna predict that the Ocarina of Time remake will come out that holiday. I think they need something big for the holiday. Mario's gonna come out early. You got Metroid Prime early. I think they're gonna.
You need some multiplayer games.
Yes, but I also think you need a big single player game to sell a lot of units at the holiday, which Ocarina of Time makes sense.
We got 3, maybe 4 if that Monolith Soft IP is a new IP. Unless you think those are one and the same, which is possible.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
But also Monolith, if it is like a new IP from Monolith Soft, there's no guarantee it will sell a lot of copies. So they still need something that will guarantee sell like 10
no guarantee, but I bet you if they have a new IP, it'll be better. It'll be a bigger seller than the Xenoblade series. I bet you.
It's very possible depending on how the combat goes. If it's a more like real-time combat, that instantly means that a lot more people
listen, man. If they show off a vast, detailed, open world with cool sci-fi themes, and it's not like straight like JRPG, right? If it's more, a little bit more quasi. And it is like a real-time combat system, like I think, and if it has like a cool online cooperative thing going on, I think people will eat that up.
Yeah,
it'll be big. It'll be like a 5 million seller, or if not more. Like that, I think if that's what the direction they're going, they may not go in that direction. So, yeah. But I think next year's gonna be hype. So we'll see. But there's gonna be
Nintendo
some cool heavy hitters.
They're looking to get another 2017. I think that's why they delayed the Switch too. Yeah. They want to get that software lineup ready. They don't just want to have a good enough amount of games. They want to have a banger every single month.
I think it should also be noted that I think third-party support is expected to be stronger. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo's maybe a little bit less. They'll still have their consistent releases, but maybe not everything's going to be like a 10 to 20 million seller. They might have more of their B tier titles, which maybe does open the door for things like Donkey Kong and Star Fox, right? But like we're gonna have things like Monster Hunter Wilds potentially, and that's gonna be big, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. So,
I think the third party support is going to be absolutely insane the first year, and continue to be very, very good.
Yeah,
especially with there's so many like PS4 era titles that didn't make their way to Switch 1 that will definitely make their way to Switch 2.
Because a lot of companies are probably want to get there early so they can have that Switch 2 effect. Be there early on, have some evergreen sales for sure. Got another super chat here from Taker. Thank you for the super chat, Taker. Taker says, "Name for the next Sonic game: The Fast of Us." Whoa. Will there be?
Oh, God.
Will there be cars? Will there be zombies? Will there be both? Yeah. Well, that's a pitch. Getting back to the live chat here, Connor. But what about Kirby? What could the Switch 2's release year lineup? You know what? Actually, I can definitely see like a Forgotten Land sequel in that first year because they haven't had anything Kirby this year. I mean, Hey. When did Splatoon 3 come out?
2023,
Yes.
2022,
When did Forgotten Land come out?
2022.
I honestly don't remember anymore. It's all a blur. No, Splatoon 3
Everything's a
also
blur.
they both came out in 2022, didn't they?
Yeah, I thought Splatoon 3 came out earlier than you said.
No. Yeah, we were talking about 2023. No, Splatoon. Yeah, for those that heard us earlier, we were dumb. Splatoon 3 came out September 2023. Forgotten Land came out
2023
March
or 2022?
2022. It's the number 3 in Splatoon that keeps having
Yes.
me say the year wrong. Splatoon 3 released September 2022. Kirby's Forgotten Land released, I want to say, March of 2022.
And you
So
don't think they're going to have a new Splatoon 4 years after? I can't believe you.
Right, because I think they're making Animal Crossing instead.
They can make both.
I mean, maybe you're right.
It's
Maybe
not like
you're
they
right.
weren't working on Splatoon 3 while they were working on Animal Crossing. You think they made Splatoon 3 in 2 years? I mean, they could have, I guess. But then they could just make Splatoon 4 in 2 years and then
I
work
mean,
on
there's
Animal Crossing.
definitely overlap for sure, but there's also like these are big games. Nintendo's taking more time now with their games, not less. Also, they did just finish up the DLC this year, so
Yeah, but it's not like the DLC is like this huge, gigantic undertaking.
hey man, you want your Splatoon 2? I'm not. Listen,
I'm just saying, Splatoon is not that like it's a pretty
also,
easy
by
game
the
to
way,
make. They've proven that over and over.
okay,
Just
this
keep
is the argument.
releasing them.
Listen, Brandon, both can happen, right? But a Forgotten Land sequel makes sense. What have they done on that scale since Forgotten Land? Nothing. They've been working on it on the next mainline Kirby game. We got a remaster, and that was it, right? Like, and like what they did, like the
It's been oddly slow for Kirby.
right. I think it's because they are gearing up for a big release. And it came out earlier, and there isn't anything else that they would be doing instead, unlike the Animal Crossing Splatoon team. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I am saying is that Forgotten Land sequel is a safer bet than Splatoon 4 for really soon. That's all. But
Sure.
it could still be both. Yeah.
I would love to see a Forgotten Land sequel. It would be interesting. I really do hope they don't just come out with like a basic like here's a Kirby Star Allies type of game where it's like here's a very basic but very graphically nice looking Kirby games 2D. Shows off some nice graphics on the Switch too, but the game's not that great or ambitious. Like I really hope they just I'm like nope. 3D Land or Forgotten Land is the baseline quality now for new like mainline Kirby games. I really hope that's what's happening.
Yeah,
because I don't want to see just a basic Kirby Star Allies type 2D game.
I mean, at that point, I'd be thinking they went in the direction of, hey, let's do 2D Kirby first and then 3D Kirby. But man, I would not.
If they do 2D Kirby, at least give us like something inspired like Planet Robobot.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, to your point, like the 2D is not necessarily bad. It's just with Kirby, it's gone stale.
Yeah.
And Forgotten Land was such a fresh experience. It's one of my favorite. Oh, yeah. It's literally my favorite Kirby game ever. Yeah, it's also my favorite Switch games. Like it's so good. So I want to follow up. And it's not like it's ambitious for Kirby standards, but it's not like unrealistic to think that they can't make another in 3 years.
No, yeah, they can.
Yeah. So we'll see on that one.
Especially with how slow Kirby has been lately. It's usually they have tons of games all the time.
Yeah. They're probably thinking bigger. We'll see.
Yeah.
Also, here's just something else to note. Again, if they get out a Kirby game like Forgotten Land, but for Switch 2 standards in that first year, getting it out in that first year, we could be talking about something that exceeds 5 million, right? Like, so there's, just want to point that out. Like, there could be some serious potential there. Anyway, Kuro Kamina adds me, Star Fox can be a great battle royale game, making it different from Metroid Prime and Splatoon.
I hope by battle
Actually,
royale you mean like classic battle royale and not like Fortnite battle royale.
like I think the idea would be like just a massive, large scale fight, right? Like maybe like 32 versus 32 or something like that. You choose two sides, and there's a giant R-wing firefight. That would
So
be
it's like
epic.
Star Fox Battlefront or Battlefield.
Maybe. I actually am not opposed to have like on foot as well. Um,
No,
I'm
okay.
not.
I
I'm
like
not a
that. For
star.
multiplayer, I think it works really well.
Yeah.
I liked
Um,
that in the N64 game and then Assault.
yeah. I loved Assault. Now Assault didn't review extremely well, but that was. It's not
The
because it was on
multiplayer was
foot. It's just
basically
because
the
it wasn't super
N64 multiplayer,
polished.
but better.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, also, like, I think there's been a lot of third-party game, like not third. Well, yes, third-party games, but there's a lot of games in third person. There's been a lot of third-person shooters that they figured it out. They know how to do it, right? Like you look at
Yeah.
Fortnite, which also has had flying vehicles in it as well, and they've done that pretty well. I mean, there's a whole bunch of games that do it. It's not just Fortnite, right? You look at it, even like the more recent, um, like Helldivers, right? Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of games that have kind of done it well that they could definitely, Star Fox could follow that to some extent while still having your aerial dogfights. So it
Oh
could
yeah.
be pretty. It could be some pretty fun, awesome mayhem there.
I'd be hyped.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, Brony Pony. I think there's a chance he can see Mario Baseball, but if there's Mario Sonic Olympics, like it's one or the other. But
Yeah.
yes, I basically expect the Mario Sports game. I something we didn't mention, Brandon. We got another leak. It's more than just a leak because the official Dragon Quest account is teasing something related to Air Direct coming back. And technically, this game was already announced a few years ago. It's a remake of Dragon Quest 3 in the HD 2D style.
Right.
And Midori has said that it's going to be in the Nintendo Direct, which makes sense. I think it's the Team Asano game, like the Octopath Traveler Bravely Default team,
I
because it's
heard
another
that
HD 2D game, but it might be a different studio.
believe I had heard that there was talk that it might have turned into a 1-3 remake. But I'm not sure
I
how
don't know.
accurate that is.
I don't
I
know.
just saw that on Twitter at
It
one
would
point.
explain
I know I
why
saw it, but I don't
why
know how accurate the information is.
Midori didn't suggest anything like that. And they were talking about Erdrick. I don't know. My Dragon Quest history isn't strong, but I don't know if Erdrick's been the main character for Dragon Quest 1 through 3.
I do
So
not know.
yeah, I'm assuming no. So I don't think that's true,
Yeah, there's a
but
Kotaku
I'm
article.
not an expert on this either, so we'll see.
I'm trying to get the source of this.
We're already at 3 hours, so I think we're definitely we should have wrapped up a long time ago stage.
Okay, apparently it's just people theorizing things.
Yeah,
It might be a remake package.
I
There's no
don't.
official information.
Yeah. Anyways, we got to wrap it up. I'm excited for this potential remake, though. I think it'll be good. The real J Stone asks me, which Zelda game makes the most sense for the holiday season for 2024? HD ports or newer 2D Zelda? I think in terms of Nintendo pushing hardware sales, a newer 2D Zelda makes sense because you could also kind of bundle that with like an OLED and special edition. Technically, you could do that for Zelda remasters, but it's not the same thing. These would be ports of games that have already been remastered.
Yeah.
But both would be huge sellers regardless.
I think a new 2D Zelda would be a lot better for their overall marketing and just hype cycle.
It sends a better message too, because if all Nintendo has is remasters this year, it doesn't look good. But if they have a new 2D Zelda, a new Mario Party, and then a few remasters mixed into that, that sends a better message.
Yeah.
But I'll take Wind Waker Twilight Princess HD if we get it. I'll be happy either way.
I mean, I'd take them, but I'd be disappointed as hell.
I personally would prefer 2D Zelda though. I think
I've been waiting 11 years.
Yeah,
11 years.
Yeah. Anyways, to wrap things up, I will end the poll. It's been up for 53 minutes. We got 96 votes. 73% said it would be June 12th.
All right.
That's a substantial
June
difference.
16th?
Huh?
Okay, what are the other stats?
I ended the poll, but I can't see the stats anymore.
Ah, what?
I think it's just a delay. Oh, there we go. All right, so yeah,
YouTube is lagging for me.
YouTube
Like
also does.
it won't pull up the
They also do
chat.
that thing where they round down the percentage. So June 12th went down to 72, but I'm pretty sure it's still 73. Um, the second place was actually June 5th at 14%, believe it or not. Third place, June 19th at 11, and June 26th got 1%. That's wild. How often do we get 1%?
That is crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah, I am
Most
surprised
people
though.
agree with you. I'm
Yeah,
not
but
shocked that June 5th came in second place because that seemed to be what the chat was thinking initially.
interesting. I'm surprised that June 19th is only at 11%.
I'm surprised June 12th took it by such a large margin.
I'm
But
surprised
I'm
by
not
that
surprised
too.
in the place. I'm not surprised at the placement of them. I'm surprised by how much June 12th won by.
Yeah, I hope we're right, because that means I'm right, and also
I mean,
means
even
we get
being
the
I'm
direct
wrong,
sooner.
I'm still on June 19th. You know, I'm not going to take
Yeah,
that back just because of the
but
chat poll.
although when we started the stream, you said June 12th, so maybe you should have stuck with your guns.
You know, that was based off of bad
Not thinking it
information.
through. Yeah.
Not thinking it through and misremembering.
Yeah,
So you
well,
know when I got
Hey,
all the information, then I chose June 19th. You know, I had
Brandon,
an informed decision.
sometimes though, we can be right for the wrong reasons.
True.
It actually
My
happens a
gut
lot.
sometimes is clairvoyant.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have a little bit of clairvoyant gut. That I agree with that. I will point out this super chat here from Boo Mini. Thank you for the super chat. Is there a chance for Switch to release it at end of 2024?
Basically, no.
Basically no.
I mean, they confirmed that they would announce it within this fiscal year, which ends in March. So it'd be very odd for them to release it like months before the end of the cap they gave to announce it.
So it's not hard confirmed that Switch 2 isn't coming out this year, but it seems pretty unlikely. I mean, all the credit reports have indicated it's been delayed internally to early 2025. But also, when you look at Nintendo's statement, yeah, I mean, technically, they don't even have to say anything about Switch 2 until March. We're assuming that, you know, they're kind of being coy with that. But to then make the extra leap that they're being so coy that they're going to announce it not just within the fiscal year, but this calendar year, give us all the details, and then come out within the same calendar year. But also, they've confirmed that they're having an Nintendo Direct in June that's focused on Switch 1, focused on the second half of 2024.
Right. Which would basically not be existent for Switch 1 as its own thing. Because, I mean, you would have to announce it in, like, July, release it in, like, September, maybe November at the latest.
Unless they announce a Nintendo Direct Mini for June, right? Like, which I think would be, they probably should have told us it would be a mini ahead of time if it's going to be a mini. But if it is, then maybe that opens the door a little bit. But I would say
there is a 0.5% chance that this could happen.
Yeah,
maybe
it's
less.
pretty unlikely, I would say, at this point, unfortunately. Yeah. But
if this
honestly,
happens,
every month that passes, every day that goes, like, we're just getting closer and closer. It's May 28th.
Yeah.
Right? It's May 28th, and it's about to be May 29th in less than 17 minutes, at least on the East Coast. The month is almost over. We are halfway through the year, basically. You know, a direct is happening in 1 to 3 weeks, basically. You know, like, we're very close to some substantial Nintendo news. And then after that, we're going to have some substantial Nintendo news to talk about and some games to play. And then a few months from now, we'll probably get some more substantial news on the Switch too. And then all of a sudden, you know, like, it's right there. And then it comes out, and then we're going to be overloaded, right? Like, if you think, if it's anything like Switch 1, we're going to be overloaded. And actually, if you account for what we think is going to happen regarding to third-party support, and you're into some third-party games on Switch 2, it's going to be even tougher. Like, Monster Hunter Wilds is coming up next year, and for me, that's a huge deal. And historically speaking, they have sold well on Nintendo systems because there's a big part of the Nintendo fan base that loves Monster Hunter.
These are going to sell even better because well, you know, assuming everything goes to plan, they will be much closer to the other versions of the game, and it won't be as much of a compromise to play it on Switch. So I think a lot more people will choose to play their third-party games on Switch too.
Yeah,
there'll be a lot more of them, and they'll be a lot better quality.
Yeah. I actually got another super chat here from Taker610. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Taker says, I say the reveal date should be after Gamescom, but before September Direct, so I would target August 22nd to September 11th. I think that's an interesting window, and I'm somewhat aligned with you. I've been thinking August or September. I like the idea of them giving us a reveal before Tokyo Game Show, because we do see a lot of third-party announcements at Tokyo Game Show, and I think it makes sense for the cat to be out of the bag totally, so we can start to see third-party announcements, because supposedly there's a whole bunch that they're just waiting to make for Nintendo. So I kind of feel like an announcement is coming soon where we actually have like a name.
I think it should be relatively sooner than later, because I think when they announce the system, they will probably announce like a price drop for like the holidays season, which they will need to announce pretty, relatively early on. They can't just announce it like right before the sale. So they're gonna want to talk about that, because if they want to push all these 13.5 million units they're trying to go for, I think that a price drop is going to be a big part of that, and I think they'll probably talk about the price drop after, pretty close to like right after they actually announce the Switch 2.
Yeah,
like I know, guys, I know there's a Switch 2 is coming early next year, or maybe they don't even say early next year. It's coming next year, but don't worry, because we're getting us to put you guys at ease about getting, you don't want to get burnt in the holidays buying a system when another one's about to come out. We're doing a $50 price drop or $100 price drop.
I think
that'll get the sales flowing.
It makes sense to make the announcement for Switch 2 before they announce their holiday bundles and pricings.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And we are anticipating a price drop, right, for the holiday, because that's going to help them hit that hardware sales target of 13.5 million.
Yeah.
It makes sense. So yeah. So August, September seems to be that window of time that they'll do that. The other alternative is that they don't say squat until January, but that would be so anti-consumer.
I think the only reason they would do that is because they're like, you know what? Screw the customers. We're never price dropping Switch. We're just riding it through the holidays.
I also don't think they'll hit their sales target if they do that, though.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think they have to be aware that people are aware of the Switch.
Yeah.
Too. They're very much aware that people know. And it does impact people's sales decisions, even if it's not official.
I think what some people might underestimate is the impact of that, right? Or overestimate the impact of that, I should say. I kind of think that the audience that Nintendo is appealing to now when it comes to selling Switch 1s are people that need a replacement Switch or getting an extra Switch for their family, or like people that are like, hey, I want to try out this large library of games that already exists and I don't want to spend that much money. So you price drop Switch 1 to appeal to that market. Switch 2 is going to probably be like a $400 console. Like you're not appealing to the same audience. You're just not. So I don't think they're going to impact their holiday sales too much by announcing Switch 2 or showcasing Switch 2 this year. It's just two different audiences they're appealing to. It's kind of like, hey, you got Switch Lite. Does the Switch OLED ruin that? No. It's just two different audiences. So
yeah,
OLED is the best-selling Switch model, though.
Nowadays it is.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Switch Lite's just a lesser
you're gonna buy
experience.
a new one, why not?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, even the original Switch, it's just like you get such a better.
But after a price drop, if Switch Lite enters that 99 to 149.99 range,
right?
They'll start to sell. So,
I think they'll probably put the Switch OLED down to 300, put the regular Switch 250, and put the Switch Lite to 150. They may even just discontinue the regular Switch and just be like, we're just selling the OLED and the Lite now.
All right. So on probably last question of the night, Brony Pony Productions asks, do you think we're getting an Animal Crossing New Leaf remake or remaster? I don't know if you're aware of this, but a New Leaf remake is supposedly rumored to be happening. I was not aware of this. I don't know where this rumor is coming from, but I'm immediately dubious. I don't think Animal Crossing is the kind of game you remaster. Have we ever seen a Mario Kart remaster? I mean, technically Mario Kart Deluxe, but that
right.
Yeah, but
No,
like
yeah, I could
you don't.
see like
Oh,
eventually in the very far future when we're getting 3DS games, like online and
oh,
as
something
part of
like
the
that.
yeah, we could see
Yeah,
that. But no, I don't think they're ever going to just go back and remake or remaster a Animal Crossing game,
Nah,
even if New Leaf is beloved by fans. That's I don't. Why would they do that? They could just make a
yeah.
new game.
By the way, for those who want a Ruby appearance, Ruby, Ruby, hey, hey, how are
Yay!
you?
Beautiful, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I don't
Anyway,
think a New Leaf remake remaster would even sell that well. Like I think people who are it's like Mario Kart. Like I think people who buy Mario Kart, they see Mario Kart, they're like, "Oh, this is Mario Kart for this system. I'm gonna buy this." And if another Mario Kart came out, they'd be like, "But I already have Mario Kart." And I think people would do the same thing with Animal Crossing. They'd be like, "But I already have Animal Crossing, and it's like way more features. Why would I get this old Animal Crossing that doesn't look as good and doesn't have as many features?"
yeah.
I think it would sell to like people who are hardcore New Leaf fans, uh, but everybody else I think would pass. I don't think it would sell more than a few million
Yeah,
copies.
I do like that you brought up like a 3DS Virtual Console though, or
Mm,
NSO someday. Like that.
right?
That's when we see
Yeah.
that game re-released. It'll be only on the eShop. But this is probably a few years from now.
Yeah.
I also don't know how they handle DS and 3DS NSO because that
I
form factor is hard to
imagine,
emulate.
at least for 3DS, I imagine they'll have like the top screen full screen and then just like a mini viewer, and they'll have like a button where you can quickly switch between the two screens as like your main screen, where the other one is like a small little picture in picture.
That could technically work, and you could use like the right stick to emulate the cursor, or maybe there's like like gyro control.
Right.
Those are
Most
options.
3DS games don't even really use the touchscreen that much. So it
Yeah,
mainly be an issue with like DS games,
yeah,
which yeah, you can use a cursor or gyro to emulate that.
yeah. Also, I mean, maybe they offer the option to use your smartphone as a second screen.
Oh,
Um,
that'd be interesting.
that'd be interesting. I mean, they could easily have like a plastic attachment that you can put on your controller. So it would work. You'd have that dual screen gameplay. That I think that's conceivable. You know,
Yeah, that'd be
I mean,
cool.
if you can stream games onto your phone, why can't you stream the simple part of the game to your phone? So I think it's conceivable.
I'm
That
curious
that
how the
that made me,
latency would be on that, but otherwise, I don't see why that wouldn't be possible.
yeah. All right, last thing. It's not even a question. It's just Boomini makes a statement. Ruby better have gone the opponent role. I don't know if I can say.
The
Stay
opponent
tuned.
role? I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that.
Well, the Zelda movie, someone has to play Epona, and Ruby.
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha,
I
gotcha.
mean, look at Ruby. Ruby,
I didn't know she was an actress.
hey, Ruby, do you have the role of Epona? Huh? Maybe, maybe, maybe. Anyways, guys, that is all for now. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. Leaving a like would be awesome. Thank you for everyone who showed up and liked the stream. It's been fun. Brandon, any final words?
Play Paper Mario. It's great.
I agree. It's great. All right, everyone. Have a good one. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Still got to make an outro.